Chapter 693. With this level of skill, Shao Chen, you better come out and accept your death. Be quick, and I won't take my anger out on the other innocent members of the Shao family. Master Tsong said calmly with a hint of arrogance in his tone. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't want to kill the entire Shao family, but there were many rules in the outer martial arts world. Especially now that the Kuei Mountain faction wanted to make a name for themselves and produce an outer demon faction's leader, it wasn't appropriate to violate the rules. Killing Shao Chen was a crime committed by the perpetrator, but attacking an innocent commoner was illogical. Look at my dual pistols, Xia Shibin is here again. Xia Shibin's voice came from afar, followed by a series of gunshots. Multiple armor-piercing bullets were shot at Master Tsong, but this time, Master Tsong didn't dodge. With a wave of his hand, the bullets that were shot at him fell to the ground, as if they couldn't cause any damage to him. Ordinary firearms are useless against a level 5 general and above. Don't waste your time. Master Tsong said calmly, who are you? Xia Shibin from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Xia Shibin said, why? Oh, you really are from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. This has nothing to do with you, so I won't hurt you. You can leave now. Master Tsong waved his hand, and Xia Shibin flew out. He fell to the ground and fainted, but he wasn't injured. Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat. This Master Tsong was still wary of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Should I reveal my identity? He was hesitant. If he revealed his identity, he might be able to escape. After all, his status was much higher than Xia Shibin's. He was the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. However, Shao Chen didn't want to do so. Firstly, his identity was special, and it wasn't appropriate to reveal it. Once it was revealed, there might be a lot of trouble. Secondly, he and the Kuei Mountain faction were mortal enemies. Revealing his identity might not result in the desired outcome. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Shao Chen didn't want to do so. On the other side, the Golden Fur Lion King and Little Yao were locked in battle. The two of them had similar strength. Although there was a small difference in their levels, the Golden Fur Lion King was very domineering and brave. As for Little Yao, he was the type who cherished his life. It was impossible for him to risk his life against the Golden Fur Lion King. You're Shao Chen, right? Junior Master Tsong pointed at Shao Chen. Among these people, he was the only one around the same age. That's right, Shao Chen nodded with a serious look on his face, but his mind was constantly thinking about how to force the enemy to retreat. Shao Chen no longer thought about killing them. It was somewhat unrealistic. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what should I do now? Shao Chen asked. What else can we do? The Elder Heaven Ancestor said helplessly. That's the advantage of being a cultivator. If we can't beat them, we can run. You have a flying sword, so what's there to be afraid of? Even if he's a demonic general, he can't fly. What can he do to you if you fly into the sky? Shao Chen also knew that escaping was the best strategy. However, he could not leave. He believed that once he left, the people from the Kuei Mountain sect would attack the people around him. Besides, even if they could not capture him back, they would not attack the people around him. As for the young mistress, she was being forced into a marriage. It was simply treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Very well, since you admit it, then die. Junior Master Tsong's gaze sharpened as his demonic aura surged. He revealed his full strength as he slowly raised his right hand. He was like a king of the martial arts world, standing at the pinnacle and looking down at Shao Chen as though he was looking at a dead man. Shao Chen was on full alert as he used his Yuan Qi to protect himself. He took out his flying sword and held it in his hand. At the instant Martial Uncle Tsong made his move, Shao Chen also moved. He stabbed his sword at Martial Uncle Tsong's heart. In his opinion, even though he was not Junior Master Tsong's opponent, if Junior Master Tsong wanted to hit him, it was inevitable that he would be stabbed. He would not die if he took a blow, but if the flying sword pierced through his heart, he would definitely die. In fact, This was also Xiao Chen's test to see if Junior Master Tsong would have any scruples. Of course, if it was an ordinary person, Junior Master Tsong would not care at all. After all, his other hand was free. It would not be difficult for him to block the sword. However, Xiao Chen's speed was extremely fast. Almost as soon as Junior Master Tsong made his move, Xiao Chen also made his move. It was too late for him to block. However, what surprised Xiao Chen was that when the sword stabbed out, Junior Master Tsong did not dodge or evade. Instead, he still aimed his palm at Xiao Chen's chest. A majestic pressure hit him in the face. Before Junior Master Tsong's palm reached him, Xiao Chen already felt an overwhelming pressure. Xiao Chen finally understood why Wang Fantian and Xia Shibin were sent flying with just a wave of his hand. To put it bluntly, the strength of these two people was too low. Even if he could withstand it, it would still be a little difficult. Boom! Almost at the same time that the long sword stabbed into Junior Master Tsong's chest, Xiao Chen was also hit by his palm. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen was a little shocked and a little sad. When the long sword stabbed into Junior Master Tsong's body, it was as if it had stabbed into an iron plate. Because of the pressure, the entire body of the sword was bent into an arc. After Xiao Chen was sent flying, the long sword also flew out and then returned to its original shape. This was a refined flying sword. If it was an ordinary sword made by hand, it would have long been bent and broken. The long sword actually could not pierce into Junior Master Tsong's body. It was unknown whether Junior Master Tsong had the devil's chi to protect his body, or his own flying sword was not sharp enough. In short, Xiao Chen was sent flying and was seriously injured. On the other hand, Junior Master Tsong was completely fine. Pa! Xiao Chen felt that he did not fall to the ground, but was caught by someone. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, Xiao Chen finally saw who it was. It was actually Yu Xiaochuan. Brother Xiao, are you okay? Yu Xiaochuan's voice was a little sharp and mournful. I came late? I'm fine. Although Xiao Chen's injury was not light, he would not die. If it was not for Xiao Chen using primordial qi to protect his chest from Junior Master Tsong's attack, he would have been killed at this moment. Fortunately, even if he was injured, the primordial qi in his chest would nourish the injury immediately, so that the injury would heal in an instant. You old bastard, you dare to hurt Brother Xiao, I will scratch you to death. Yu Xiaochuan put Xiao Chen aside. Tang Tang, take care of Brother Xiao. As he spoke, he dashed towards Uncle Master Kong. Who are you? The sudden cold killing intent made Junior Master Tsong's whole body cold. He had not felt this kind of killing intent for many years. Ever since he advanced to the 5th layer of the Devil General, his opponents were like ants in front of him. Although there were still many experts above him, under normal circumstances, it was difficult for those people to go against him. I will scratch you to death. Yu Xiaochuan did not say a word, crossed his hands, and slashed at Junior Master Tsong's body. Junior Master Tsong was caught off guard. Although he dodged in time, the clothes on his chest were inevitably affected, and actually turned into a few strips of cloth, directly falling to the ground. Junior Master Tsong was shocked. How could this person be so fast? He had clearly dodged, but he was still hit. What shocked him the most was that he could not see the strength of this person. He did not seem to have any strength, but he was astonishingly fast. If he had not sensed the danger of this person and quickly dodged, he would have been injured by now, right? Yu Xiaochuan did not say much when his attack did not hit. Before his body landed on the ground, he only saw his body lightly leap in the air, and without any leverage, he continued to attack forward. The fingertips of both hands, like a sharp sword, stabbed towards Junior Master Tsong's throat again. Junior Master Tsong's eyes narrowed. This person was so strange. Looking at his lithe figure, one would have thought that he was a beautiful woman, but his moves were ruthless, and it was shocking. Especially that strange movement technique, it was as if he was using Qigong to the extreme. He took a deep breath, not daring to fight recklessly. Previously, when he fought recklessly with Xiao Chen, he did not think much of Xiao Chen's flying sword. But now, it was different. His instinct told him that if he were to be careless, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Thinking of this, Junior Master Tsong quickly retreated again, but even so, he still felt his face burning. It turned out that the strong wind from Yu Shaochuan's waving hands had swept him. Junior Master Tsong could not help but feel lucky. Luckily, he did not fight recklessly, or the consequences would be unimaginable. But before he could regain his senses, Yu Shaochuan's third round of attacks followed. Junior Master Tsong was furious. Why did this person not know to stop? Looking at him, if one attack did not hit, the next attack would come straight at him. Did he not even give me a chance to catch my breath? Who fights like this? If everyone was like you, how could others live? What the hell are you practicing? In a battle between martial arts masters, everyone knew that no matter how strong they were, it was impossible to continuously use moves. There must be a small pause between each move. Damn, there's a cooldown period when playing games. You're not done, are you? This time, Junior Master Tsong's neck was accidentally scratched by Yu Shaochuan. He could not help but feel a little depressed. Shaochuan sat cross-legged on the ground to heal. This was also the first time he saw Yu Shaochuan in action. He was shocked, but Yu Shaochuan's aura made him feel a sense of familiarity. It was not the aura of a martial arts cultivator, nor was it the aura of a demonic cultivator. If he had to say something, Shaochuan felt that he was more like a cultivator. Could it be that Yu Shaochuan's chrysanthemum treasure book was also a cultivation method? Damn, are you done? This was already Yu Shaochuan's 10th non-stop attack. Are you trying to set up a combo? In shock, Junior Master Tsong could not help but curse. This person was definitely the strongest opponent he had ever met in his life. If he could not dodge in time, he could be hit. Knowing that continuously retreating was not the solution, Junior Master Tsong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He decided, even if it meant getting injured, he had to get rid of this person. Otherwise, once his energy was depleted, he would be in danger. Go to hell! Junior Master Tsong shouted. He immediately channeled his energy and struck out with both palms, attacking Yu Shaochuan's vital points. Chapter 694. But he didn't expect that Yu Shaochuan actually ignored him and continued to attack him in a frenzy. Boom! Yu Shaochuan's chest took a direct hit. His face turned pale and a mouthful of fresh blood sprayed onto Master Uncle Tsong's face. The blood was mixed with blood clots and bruises. Looking at his chest caved in, it was obvious that his injury wasn't light. It could even be said that it was extremely serious. Just a so-so. Master Uncle Tsong sneered. He had used all his strength. Although Yu Shaochuan's hands had slashed across his neck, because he had reacted in time, the wound on his neck was merely a bloody mark. It wasn't a big deal. But being drenched by Yu Shaochuan's fresh blood made him feel disgusted and annoyed. Master Uncle, be careful. On the other side, little Yao Zi's peripheral vision was also paying attention to the movements over here. After all, his main goal was to delay and didn't go head-to-head with Golden Fur Lion King. He still had plenty of time. Seeing that Master Uncle Tsong had met with a strong opponent, he naturally paid attention. Seeing Master Uncle Tsong's palm strike Yu Shaochuan, he was still very happy. But at the next moment, he was a little surprised. He saw that Yu Shaochuan's body didn't fly out from Master Uncle Tsong's palms. Instead, he drew an unbelievable arc in the air and attacked Master Uncle Tsong once again. Swoosh 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 swoosh. After Master Uncle Tsong heard little Yao Zi's shout, he couldn't help but be stunned. But his eyes were blinded by Yu Shaochuan's fresh blood, so he couldn't see the situation in front of him clearly. But at the next moment, he couldn't say a word. Yu Shaochuan's two hands swept back and forth in front of Master Uncle Tsong's body. Up, down, left, right. Under the sunlight, one could even vaguely see that between Yu Shaochuan's 10 fingers, there seemed to be 5 thin lines connected, and Master Uncle Tsong's body, in the next moment, split into pieces, as if he was cut by these thin lines. Suddenly, it exploded and fell to the ground, turning into square pieces of minced meat. It was like the square pieces of meat that the chef in a restaurant cut before making braised meat. Ugh. While little Yao Zi was shocked, he couldn't help but feel nauseous. He was completely shocked. What kind of people were beside Xiao Chen? Why were they all freaks? While he was distracted, he suffered a blow from the golden fur lion king. However, it was also because of this blow that little Yao borrowed the momentum to fly backwards. After landing on the ground, he broke into a run. His speed was so fast that it was shocking. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. After Yu Shaochuan killed Martial Uncle Song, he suddenly fell to the ground and started coughing out mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, Xiao Chen's emotions were very complicated and moved. He never thought that Yu Shaochuan would fight to the death. Even if he had to risk his life, he would kill his opponent. Of course, he was even more shocked. Yu Shaochuan's martial arts were strange and ruthless, far beyond Xiao Chen's imagination. Yu Shaochuan, how are you? Xiao Chen's injuries were almost healed. He quickly stood up and ran to Yu Shaochuan, bending over to support him. Brother Xiao. I'm afraid I can't make it. Yu Shaochuan was left with his last breath. When he saw Xiao Chen coming over, his face revealed a satisfied smile. Coupled with the blood stains at the corner of his mouth, he looked especially mournful. I'm very happy to be able to do something for you. I'm very envious of Tang Tang. The first part of Yu Shaochuan's words made Xiao Chen very touched and grateful. However, the second part was somewhat inexplicable. Envious of Tang Tang? Could it be that Yu Shaochuan's injuries were too serious that he became muddle-headed? However, for Xiao Chen, as long as Yu Shaochuan was still breathing, there would still be a chance. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to say more. He directly grabbed the meridians on Yu Shaochuan's chest and circulated the mantra. He continuously transferred his yuan qi over. Suddenly, Xiao Chen was shocked. He looked at Yu Shaochuan with some amazement. In the past, when he healed others, his own yuan qi was passively transferred to repair the meridians, bones, and internal organs of the injured. But this time, although the yuan qi was initially transferred by Xiao Chen, it seemed that Yu Shaochuan's aura guided Xiao Chen's yuan qi to repair it in his body. This was the first time Xiao Chen encountered this situation, but Xiao Chen saved his energy. He didn't have to bother to sort out Yu Shaochuan's meridians and bones one by one. These things were completely done by Yu Shaochuan himself. However, the huge consumption shocked Xiao Chen. The yuan qi in his body that had just been restored was actually sucked dry by Yu Shaochuan. What was gratifying was that Yu Shaochuan's pale face gradually became ruddy. After a long while, Yu Shaochuan coughed violently twice. After coughing out some blood clots, he opened his eyes. Brother Xiao, you saved me? I'm not dead. And, don't talk. Just a little bit more. Xiao Chen didn't know what attitude to take toward Yu Shaochuan. Although Yu Shaochuan had always claimed that he was his own younger brother, there was not much real contact and communication between Xiao Chen and him. It could be said that there was no heart-to-heart. In Xiao Chen's opinion, this younger brother was completely subdued because of his own strength. Once he had strength that exceeded his own, he would immediately turn against him. But to Xiao Chen's great surprise, Yu Shaochuan didn't do so. Even though he had strength, he was still loyal to him. This kind of loyalty seemed to have reached an outrageous level. Knowing that he was courting death, he still went to fight recklessly. Yu Shaochuan didn't know that Xiao Chen could heal his injuries. In his situation at that time, he was undoubtedly going to die. This made Xiao Chen draw countless question marks in his heart. He really didn't understand why he was like this. Brother Xiao, you are so good to me. Yu Shaochuan smiled happily. Tang Tang watched from the side and couldn't help but frown. She wanted to say something but stopped herself. Yu Shaochuan's injuries recovered quickly. Although he was a little weak, his life was no longer in danger. With Tang Tang's help, he returned to the villa to rest. After bidding farewell to Xiao Chen, he left. He had overdrawn too much of his physical strength previously. At this moment, he had to go back and cultivate in seclusion. Golden Fur Lion King's qigong was not good. After chasing a street, he still didn't see Little Yao's figure. He could only return resentfully, feeling a little depressed. That kid ran too fast. I couldn't catch up. He must have gone back to inform the others. Forget it. Xiao Chen waved his hand. Little Yao was not the only person in the Kuei Mountain sect. Even if he killed him, the other party would still come for revenge. Even if he didn't inform the others, the Kuei Mountain sect wouldn't know where these people died. Thank you for helping, Grandpa Jean, but when did you become a general? Xiao Chen felt that this world was a little crazy. Not only was Yu Xiaochuan's strength outstanding, but even Golden Fur Lion King had become a general. I'm just injured, so my strength can't improve. However, I have the foundation. These years of cultivation have long accumulated to the point where it can explode. As long as there's an opportunity, my strength will improve by leaps and bounds. Golden Fur Lion King said, Xiao Chen, since there's nothing else, I'll take Bei Bei back first. Alright, thank you, Grandpa Jean, for your help today. If you need any help in the future, Xiao Chen will not hesitate. Xiao Chen was very grateful to Golden Fur Lion King. Otherwise, even if Yu Xiaochuan helped today, the situation would not be salvageable. Although Little Yao's strength was not high, Xiao Chen and the others could not deal with him. Previously, they killed the two devil generals by pure luck. They didn't expect that Wang Fangtian, a boorish man, would use the big iron door as a weapon. Now, both Little Yao and Master Tsong were prepared. It was impossible for them to use this trick again. Therefore, Xiao Chen really had no choice. Cousin-in-law, Yu Xiaochuan seems to like you. Jean Bei Bei waved at Xiao Chen and was about to get into the car. Don't talk nonsense. Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Jean Bei Bei didn't say much. After getting into the car, she shouted at Xiao Chen, cousin-in-law, Bei Bei is leaving. You have to miss Bei Bei. Of course. When will you go back to the villa after the spring festival? Xiao Chen asked. Let's talk about it later. Jean Bei Bei was a little confused. Golden Fur Lion King started the car, and the two of them drove away. Xia Shibin and Wang Fangtian woke up slowly at this moment. After getting up, they were a little shocked when they saw the minced meat all over the ground. Holy sh*t, boss, are you serious? So cruel. Xia Shibin opened his eyes wide. Did you stuff these two people into a meat grinder? Clean up first. We'll talk about it when we get back. Xiao Chen told Xia Shibin. Although the Xiao family was located in a remote area and there were not many people around, it was better to clean up such a cruel scene as soon as possible. Yes. Xia Shibin answered and went to clean up with Wang Fangtian. When Xiao Chen walked into the courtyard of the Xiao family, he saw a back. It was Wang Tietio. Obviously, Wang Tietio was alerted by the fight just now, but he didn't help. Xiao Chen didn't think much about it. After all, Wang Tietio was only at the level of a martial master. If he came, he would be killed. Wang Fangtian could help because he was an unusual person. At this moment, Wang Tietio was also a little shocked. It seemed that he had to reevaluate Xiao Chen's strength. He didn't expect that Xiao Chen had so many masters around him. This time, he had verified the rumors with his own eyes. As expected, Xiao Chen could heal the injured quickly. Previously, he heard that he showed this skill at the Righteous and Demonic Songming Summit. However, it was mostly a rumor. Now that Wang Tietio saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but be shocked. Xiao Yuanshan was already somewhat numb. During this period of time, many martial masters and martial generals had died in the Xiao clan. Before this, even a 10th layer great perfection cultivator would be a high and mighty existence to Xiao Chen. But now, these experts were like cabbages being cut up, chopped to death with a so-so sound. Xiao Yao was really scared out of his wits today. He ran all the way. In his heart, he felt lucky that he didn't fight with Golden Fur Lion King. If he was injured after the fight, even if he killed Golden Fur Lion King, he wouldn't be able to escape. He would probably be a pile of minced meat by now. This was simply unequal strength. Fortunately, he was quick-witted and ran fast. Chapter 695. Martial Uncle Tsong was killed by one of Xiao Chen's freakish companions. Little Yao's voice was trembling. Senior brother Qing Zhongfan, what did you say back then? Didn't you say it would be easy to take down the Xiao family? Are there no experts in the Xiao family? What's going on? Our Quishan sect's experts are falling one after another. How am I going to explain this to the sect when I get back? At this moment, little Yao Zi wanted to kill Qing Zhongfan. Originally, he wanted to find a woman for his son to marry in the secular world to show the sect that Yao Baoang did not want to participate in the competition for the core disciple position. He wanted to quietly improve his strength in secret. But now, all the experts of the sect had fallen because of this matter. Even Martial Uncle Tsong had died. Would the sect let him go when he got back? In this way, no matter how outstanding Yao Baoang was, he would be thrown into the cold palace. Little Yao's heart was bleeding. He went for wool and came home shorn. If he had known this would happen, he would not have come to the secular world. Why did he have to find someone from the Qing family? I don't know either. Who would have thought that Xiao Chen would have such a powerful ally? Qing Zhongfan was also very depressed. When this matter returned to the sect, he would definitely be the first to be punished. You really got me killed. Little Yao's face was bitter. Now, the only thing I can do is to return to the sect quickly. Qing Tianxiu, pack your things and return to the sect with me. Qing Zhongfan said coldly. Today's matter has already happened. We are bound together. Don't think that the Qing family can stay aloof. We won't leave, Qing Zhongfan. Let's forget about the marriage. Qing Tianxiu was also unyielding now. Xiao Chen had killed most of the experts of the Quishan sect. What was there for the Qing family to be afraid of? What did you say? You old fart, let me tell you, I can't do anything to Xiao Chen, but I can kill you. Of course, Qing Zhongfan knew why Qing Tianxiu was so stubborn. He immediately flew into a rage. If you don't want to die, then be quick. However, before Qing Zhongfan finished speaking, his cell phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, Qing Zhongfan's heart skipped a beat. He didn't want to answer it, but he didn't dare to. He could only answer it with trepidation. Hello? Xiao Chen. Young swordsman. Qing Zhongfan, I won't waste any more words with you. I give you until tonight. Take those idiots from your sect and scram from the Qing family. Otherwise, I will lead my companions to attack you. Don't blame me if you die, said Xiao Chen coolly. You. Qing Zhongfan was fuming with anger. I don't need you to say that. We are about to leave. Oh, and Menjing's engagement has been cancelled. I hope you won't harass her anymore. There is a saying that you won't die if you don't court death. Your senior brothers and martial uncles have already courted death. Now it's up to your performance. Xiao Chen reminded him. I got it. Qing Zhongfan gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to disagree. After hanging up the phone, Qing Zhongfan waved his hand and said, Junior brother Yao, junior nephew Baoang, let's go. Then Qing Menjing. Yao Baoang was stunned. Xiao Chen is watching. If you don't want to die, continue. Qing Zhongfan said angrily. Oh. Yao Baoang was not stupid. When he heard Xiao Chen, he immediately shrunk his neck. The three of them didn't stay any longer. They quickly left the Qing family and returned to the sect. No one mentioned the feast that they had mentioned before. Watching the three of them leave, Qing Tianxiu breathed a sigh of relief. He smiled bitterly and said, I don't know if our Qing family is lucky or not, father, we were all deceived by Qing Zhongfan before. Now, our top priority should be to repair our relationship with the Xiao family. Qing Zhongming suggested. The Qing family and the Xiao family were on good terms again. This was what he had always wanted to see. It was also an explanation for his missing sworn brother, Xiao Feng. You're right. Let's go to the Xiao family immediately. Qing Tianxiu nodded. He would no longer claim to be the master of the first aristocratic family in Songming. Because from tomorrow onwards, everyone would know that the Xiao family was the first aristocratic family in Songming. Menjing, why don't you come with us? Qing Zhongming said. Qing Menjing suddenly felt a little shy. She began to worry about personal gains and losses. She knew that her father and grandfather were going to visit the Xiao family. That meant that they were going to re-establish the in-laws between the two families. Then, she and Xiao Chen. Thinking of this, Miss Chang's face flushed with anticipation. Am I looking forward to it? How is that possible? Haven't I always disliked Xiao Chen? When she knew about this engagement, she had always been very resistant and wanted to cancel it. But now, when it was about to resume the engagement, Miss Cheng had an inexplicable excitement in her heart. In her mind, the bits and pieces of her time with Xiao Chen flashed involuntarily. From the first time he moved into the villa to the first day of school when he had a dispute with Lu Zhenming and Ma Gangmen. These extremely ordinary things became beautiful and sweet memories. Every time she thought of it, Qing Menjing would laugh unconsciously. What's wrong, Menjing? Qing Zhongming saw that his daughter was suddenly in a daze. He felt a little strange. Don't you want to go? Then let's go. Qing Menjing nodded. She felt like an ugly daughter-in-law who came to visit for the first time. She was a little scared, but she also hoped to get the approval of the Xiao family. What am I thinking? While her imagination was running wild, Qing Menjing followed her grandfather and father out of the house. They got on the car and arrived at the entrance of the Xiao family's courtyard in a daze. At this time, there were some workers repairing the gate. A few construction vehicles were busy. Qing Zhongming found a gap and drove in. But just as he entered, he was stopped by the disciples of the Xiao family. They thought that it was another person looking for trouble. When they saw that it was the Qing family, they were a little nervous and quickly took out the walkie-talkie to call. Of course, when he heard that it was Qing Zhongming, Xiao Hai naturally wouldn't treat him as an enemy and personally came out to welcome him. Old Master Qing, why did you come personally? Xiao Hai saw that Qing Tianxiu was among the people who got off the car and was a little surprised. Previously, the disciple only said that Qing Zhongming came in a car, but didn't say who else was in the car. Xiao Hai, before this old man was biased against your Xiao family, I'm really sorry. I hope that the Xiao family can give the Qing family a chance to make up for it. Qing Tianxiu was a person who was more daring to admit his mistakes, otherwise he wouldn't have said this to Xiao Hai. If he wanted to say it, he would have said it to Xiao Yuanshan. It's all Qing Zhongfan's fault. I understand that it has nothing to do with old Master Qing. Please come in. Xiao Hai laughed and didn't pursue the matter. He led the three members of the Qing family into the guest room. Xiao Chen didn't expect that Qing Tianxiu would come, and Xiao Yuanshan obviously didn't expect it either. He thought that only Qing Zhongming came. Old brother Xiao, how have you been? Qing Tianxiu saw Xiao Yuanshan and quickly walked over. Humph. Xiao Yuanshan coldly snorted, but didn't have a good attitude. It was obvious that he was still brooding over what happened before. I can also be considered as your brother-in-law. Qing Tianxiu was a little embarrassed. Brother Xiao is an elder, can't you forgive your little brother's mistake? Seeing that my grandson is amazing, you're sticking to me again? Xiao Yuanshan looked at Qing Tianxiu mockingly. I say, why are you so shameless? Qing Tianxiu's face was a little red. Although he was indeed a little snobbish before, most of it was because he was deceived by Qing Zhongfan. However, he did indeed cause harm to the Xiao family. So, at this time, he was very embarrassed. He didn't know how to explain, and could only look at Xiao Yuanshan with a bitter face. Grandfather, it's rare for Menjing to come as a guest. Let's let bygones be bygones. Xiao Chen didn't want to pursue the matter with Qing Tianxiu. No matter what, this person was Cheng Menjing's grandfather. Since he was able to save him in the historical remains, he didn't want to continue pursuing the matter pointlessly. For my grandson's sake, let bygones be bygones. Xiao Yuanshan then said, Qing Tianxiu, you wouldn't have come to my Xiao family to propose marriage again, right? Qing Tianxiu was really, but when Xiao Yuanshan said it with a mocking tone, he really didn't know how to reply. He could only bite the bullet and say, the matter between Menjing and Xiao Qin was decided long ago. Qing Menjing lowered her head. She didn't know what to do. Her heart was incomparably perturbed. Hearing Xiao Yuanshan's words, it seemed like he didn't want to acknowledge this marriage. In that instant, Qing Menjing was incomparably disappointed. As for why she was disappointed, she didn't know either. Previously, she was still thinking about what kind of attitude Xiao Yuanshan and the rest of the Xiao family would have towards her. She didn't expect it to be like this. Xiao Qin saw the young Miss awkwardness and smiled. Grandfather, since Grandfather Cheng has already admitted his mistake, let's not dwell on the past. Isn't dinner ready? Let's have a lively meal together. That's right, that's right. Zhongming, take out my treasured wine. Qing Tianxiu looked gratefully at Xiao Chen and said to Qing Zhongming. Old thing Cheng, let me tell you. The marriage, that's Menjing's. I've always acknowledged her as my granddaughter-in-law. But you, think about it yourself. Xiao Yuanshan chuckled and didn't say anything more. Xiao Yuanshan's words made Qing Menjing instantly heave a sigh of relief. Her heart was bashful and happy. But she was also a little worried that the Qing family and the Xiao family would have an unhappy relationship in the future. Actually, Xiao Yuanshan was just taking advantage of his words. He was already very happy that Qing Tianxiu was able to lower his head in front of him. Now, he was just making things difficult for him. In the dining room, Xiao Chen was naturally arranged to sit together with Qing Menjing. But someone was unhappy. Qing Menjing? Why are you here? When Xiao Xiao saw Qing Menjing, she instantly frowned. The dense hostility in her eyes made Qing Menjing a little confused. Oh, it's Xiao Xiao. Hello, Happy New Year. Qing Menjing stood up and gave her blessings with doubt. She thought to herself that it couldn't be because of Qing Mingxiang's matter, right? The Xiao family has been turned upside down by your Qing family. How can they be happy? Xiao Xiao curled her lips, another typical example of sticking close to my brother after seeing that he has strength. Just like Shen Jingxian. Chapter 696. Qing Menjing looked at Xiao Xiao in astonishment. Xiao Xiao didn't pay any more attention to her and sat on the seat that belonged to Qing Menjing next to Xiao Chen. On the other side of Xiao Chen sat Tang Tang and Yu Xiaochuan. Qing Menjing didn't have a seat. Xiao Xiao, you. Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why was Xiao Xiao so hostile to Qing Menjing? Hey! Sister Menjing, why don't you sit down? Xiao Xiao smiled innocently and looked at Qing Menjing, who was stunned with anger. Xiao Chen, I order you to sit here. Qing Menjing said and pointed to an empty seat next to her. She was a little exasperated. You have such a bad temper. No wonder my brother likes Shen Jingxian instead of you. Xiao Xiao looked at Qing Menjing with pity. You. Qing Menjing was furious with Xiao Xiao. Forget it, Menjing, you sit here with me. Tang Tang stood up and gave the seat to Qing Menjing. She didn't care. There were many opportunities to contact with Xiao Chen. She would live in the Xiao family for a period of time, and Qing Menjing was a guest. I'm fine. Qing Menjing sat down in disappointment. She was too embarrassed to sit on Tang Tang's seat. She was a little annoyed. Do you think I like to sit next to Xiao Chen? Humph, who cares? Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. He found that Xiao Xiao was not hostile to Tang Tang, but she had a deep grudge against Shen Jingxian and Qing Menjing. Fortunately, Xiao Yuanshan, Xiao Hai, Qing Tianxiu, and Qing Zhongming did not see this scene. They had not sat down yet and were chatting on the sofa at the side of the dining hall. Xiao Xiao, don't talk about Menjing like that. She's actually quite nice, Xiao Chen whispered to Xiao Xiao. Okay? I think she's a silly girl. Xiao Xiao didn't think much of it. On one side was his sister, and on the other side was his fiancée. This put Xiao Chen in a difficult position. Fortunately, they didn't have much interaction. He would return to the villa after Chinese New Year, and Xiao Xiao wouldn't be able to see Qing Menjing then. Qing Zhongfan, Qing Mingqiang, Little Yao, and Yao Baoang returned to the Kuei Mountain sect. They had come in a group, but only 4 were left when they returned, including Qing Zhongfan and his son. Is everything settled? The one who asked the question was Xiao Yao's master, Zhong Qisheng. He was puzzled as he did not see anyone else. Xiao Tsong, where is your martial uncle Tsong? Didn't they follow you back? Master, I was wrong. Qing Zhongfan knelt on the ground without another word. Zhong Qisheng was also his master. Zhongfan, what do you mean? Zhong Qisheng was puzzled. Master, martial uncle Tsong, senior brother Qian and senior brother Nangong were all. Qing Zhongfan paused as he spoke up to this point. He carefully looked at Zhong Qisheng's expression. When he saw that Zhong Qisheng's expression was normal, he said, they've all perished. What? Although Zhong Qisheng was puzzled by Qing Zhongfan's hesitation, he never expected that 3 experts from the sect would be killed by Xiao Chen. Master, I shouldn't have gone to the secular world to seek marriage for Baoang. That's why this happened. Master, please punish me. Little Yao knelt on the ground. Don't be in a hurry to punish them. Tell me first, what exactly is going on? How is it possible that Xiao Chen is so powerful? Zhong Qisheng felt the world spinning around him. He forced himself to calm down and asked. This matter was too important. He had to figure it out immediately and report it to the sect. Qing Zhongfan and Little Yao Zi were both witnesses of the 2 battles. The 2 of them quickly reported the situation in full detail, not daring to hide anything. Zhong Qisheng could not be bothered to scold the 2 disciples. He hurriedly went to discuss with the sect's higher-ups. The higher-ups of the Kuei Mountain sect were sitting in the conference room. Although the Supreme Elder was in seclusion, the sect master was present. The sect master of the Kuei Mountain sect was called Ma Qinja. His strength was unfathomable. Sitting beside him was his son, who was also the young sect master of the Kuei Mountain sect. The candidate for the Devil's sect master position was, of course, predetermined. His name was Ma Longting. Sitting beside Ma Qinja were a few elders. Zhong Qisheng was one of them. That's how it is. Zhong Qisheng slowly recounted the course of events before saying, Sect leader Ma, please make a decision on this matter. This Xiao Chen actually has such strength? And his lackeys all have their own unique skills? Ma Qinja frowned. We can't blame Zhong Fan and Little Yao for this matter. They were just following the sect's instructions to deal with the Xiao family. But in this case, we have to adjust our plan. We can't fight the Xiao family recklessly. Sect Master Ma, what kind of deep hatred does the people behind us have with the Xiao family? Why do we have to deal with the Xiao family? And why don't they do it themselves? Zhong Qisheng was puzzled. This was also the question the other elders wanted to ask. All I know is who they are trying to lure out. As for the specific reason and situation, I don't know either. You should understand that the reason why the Kuei Mountain sect can become the #1 demon sect in the outer martial arts world is because of their help. It's best not to ask about things that we shouldn't know, lest we get into trouble. Ma Qinja's expression changed and he shouted sternly. Yes. Zhong Qisheng quickly nodded. But in this case, how are we going to deal with Xiao Chen? That kid doesn't play by the rules, and the experts around him are also very strange. Even if we send more people, we might still be wiped out. I understand. I will ask them before making a decision. Don't provoke the Xiao family for the time being. Now is the crucial time for the Demon Sect master election. We don't have the energy or so many experts to waste in the secular world. Machinja made the final decision. This matter will come to an end for now. I will ask the people behind me before making a decision. Yes. Zhong Qixing responded, but then said, but, are we going to forget about Yao Boang's marriage? Isn't that the Qing family? Is it still affected? Machinja asked. Here's the thing. Qing Menjing used to be Xiao Chen's fiancé, and Xiao Chen also warned Qing Zhongfan to. As he spoke, Zhong Qixing told the sect master about Qing Menjing's complicated situation. Why is it so complicated? Machinja suddenly frowned. Why didn't you make it clear at the beginning? I didn't know at the beginning either. Zhong Qixing smiled bitterly. Besides, even if I knew at that time, I didn't think there was any problem. After all, who would have thought that Xiao Chen was a variable? Why don't we tell Xiao Yao to forget about it and find a woman from another family for his son, Baoang? Forget about it? How can we do that? Machinja shook his head. If we can't even deal with an aristocratic family in the secular world, how will other sects think of us? We are the #1 demon sect in the outer martial arts world, and we can't even deal with a woman from an aristocratic family in the secular world? Won't we be laughed at? That's true. Although he said so, Zhong Qixing was criticizing in his heart. Isn't the Xiao family also a secular family? Won't they be laughed at after being killed by Xiao Chen? It's obvious that they are angry at Xiao Chen and have nowhere to vent. Now they want to take it out on the Qing family. He could only bite the bullet and said, but now Xiao Chen has said that he will protect the Qing family. If we insist on doing this, won't we provoke Xiao Chen again? Who knows what that kid will do then? Machinja was also a little aggrieved. This Xiao Chen, a small character that he didn't take seriously at all, actually suddenly trembled. Is there a marriage contract? At this time, Machinja spoke. Of course there is, but this kind of thing has no binding force after all. Zhong Qixing said. Elder Zhong, have you forgotten that the marriage contract in the outer martial arts world is protected by the Outer Martial Arts Guild? At that time, we only need to take the marriage contract to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to complain and say that the Qing family did not keep the contract. At that time, the Outer Martial Arts Guild will send people to enforce it. Even if that Xiao Chen has 3 heads and 6 arms, he can't compete with the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Machinja smiled and said, at that time, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only will we deal a blow to Xiao Chen, but we can also fulfill the marriage contract without losing face. Young master is wise. Zhong Qixing's eyes suddenly lit up. How could he forget about the Outer Martial Arts Guild? The so-called Outer Martial Arts Guild was a branch of the Warrior Guild in the Outer Martial Arts world. It belonged to the same system as the Warrior Guild in the secular world. It was responsible for coordinating and supervising all matters in the Outer Martial Arts world. This Outer Martial Arts Guild was formed by the secular world Supernatural Investigation Bureau and some masters in the Inner Martial Arts world. The warrior guild that Xiao Chen met in the Hakanamada Desert was actually under the jurisdiction of the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Of course, for the sake of face, the sects in the Outer Martial Arts world rarely asked for help from the Outer Martial Arts Guild. That was equivalent to asking for help from the Outer Martial Arts Guild because they were not strong enough. They would be looked down upon by the other party. But this time, it was different. This time, the target was the Qing family in the secular world, not the Outer Martial Arts world. In this way, it was equivalent to the Qishan sect exerting pressure to find people to deal with the Qing family. The Qing family would not dare to look down on the Qishan sect at all. Dragonfly's idea is not bad. Zhong Qixing, bring the victim, Xiao Yao, and his son and immediately go to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to complain. Let the Outer Martial Arts Guild intervene in this matter. Then, let's see what that Xiao Chen will do. At this point, a cold smile flashed across Machinja's lips. If Xiao Chen doesn't know what's good for him and kills a few people from the Outer Martial Arts Guild, then there will be a good show. We don't even need to do anything. The Xiao family will be ruined. Master, what a brilliant plan. Zhong Qixing heard this and immediately laughed. In their opinion, it was impossible for Xiao Chen to understand what kind of existence the Outer Martial Arts Guild was. If he accidentally offended them, he. Chapter 697. Things were settled in this way. Little Yao took Ya Baoang to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to complain. After the meeting, Ma Dianzhu secretly contacted the sect behind him. Elder Yen, I'm Ma Peijia. With the development of technology, the communication method in the martial arts world had also changed from pigeons to real-time phone calls. Sect leader Ma, how's the matter with Xiao Chen? Elder Yen asked. Something happened. I'm going to report this matter to Elder Yen. Ma Peijia said carefully. Tell me, did you fail again? Elder Yen asked faintly. It's like this. Ma Peijia explained the matter. Although the Kuei Mountain sect seemed to be a little embarrassed, he did not dare to hide anything. With the ability of the sect behind him, it was not difficult to find out the truth. In other words, you can't do anything to Xiao Chen for the time being? Elder Yen asked emotionlessly after listening. Ma Peijia's heart skipped a beat. He took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Please forgive me, Elder Yen. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we don't have to kill Xiao Chen to lure that person out. There are still other ways. Elder Yen smiled indifferently. Oh? What other ways? Ma Peijia asked quickly. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. From now on, the Kuei Mountain sect will focus on planning for the Outer Martial Arts Devil sect leader election. Don't bother about other things. Elder Yen said in a strange voice. Yes. Ma Peijia's heart skipped a beat. He did not dare to say much and nodded in agreement. On the other side, although Elder Yen did not say anything, he did not blame Ma Peijia either. This made Ma Peijia feel relieved. Although he did not know how the sect behind him could lure that person out, it had nothing to do with him for the time being. Thinking of this, he quickly walked out of the secret room and prepared to discuss with other elders about the Devil sect leader election. Outer Martial Arts Guild. In fact, the Outer Martial Arts Guild was also known as the Warrior Guild to outsiders. However, because the Outer Martial Arts Guild was full of martial masters and martial generals, they preferred to call it the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Calling him a martial artist would mean lowering his status. Vice President Nian, you have to stand up for me. Yao Baoang recounted his bloody history with tears and snot. In his account, the Qing family became shameless people who forsook morality at the sight of profit. Not only did they want to break off the engagement, but they also sought help from the Shao family to kill several experts from the Quishan sect. Vice President Nian was one of the vice presidents of the External Martial Arts Guild. Now that it was the Spring Festival, he was the vice president on duty. After hearing Yao Baoang's tearful complaint, he did not immediately express his opinion. He wasn't stupid. If the Kuei Mountain sect was going to propose, then so be it. Why did they have to bring so many devil general level experts along? Wasn't that just idle? He didn't believe that there was nothing going on between you and the Shao family. Of course, the engagement might be true, but it might not be true with the Shao family. These words could be heard from both sides. He just said lightly, Oh, you guys sent the devil generals to the secular world. There is no enmity or grudge between them. If they get into conflict with the secular world and die, it's just because they are not skilled enough. Each side will be punished 50 times, and this matter will be over. Yes, yes. Yao Baoang didn't dare to tell the truth. After all, it was the Kuei Mountain sect who wanted to deal with Xiao Chen. This couldn't be known by outsiders. Moreover, his main purpose wasn't to attack the Shao family, but the engagement. The marriage contract is here. Vice President Nian, please take a look. Oh, let me see. Vice President Nian took the marriage contract and read it. She didn't find any problems, so she said, Okay, in that case, I can accompany you to investigate. If it's true, I'll make the decision to force the Qing family to fulfill the engagement. Thank you, Vice President Nian. Yao Baoang was overjoyed. He was confident that this marriage contract was real. As long as Vice President Nian supported it, the Qing family would have to marry off their daughter in the end. He, Qing Menjiang, who asked you not to dump me? Won't you obediently become my person in bed? Xiao Chen, you fool. Even if you're strong, what's the use of it? Your fiancé is also mine. Well, that's it. Vice President Nian nodded. Vice President Nian, when do you think we should go to the secular world? Yao Baoang couldn't wait. Why? Do I need you to make arrangements for me? Vice President Nian snorted, which gave Yao Baoang a fright. Although not everyone in the External Martial Arts Guild was very strong, and this Vice President Nian was only a third-floor general, because of the involvement of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, he had armed forces in his hands. Yao Baoang knew very well that heavy machine guns and rocket launchers were trivial. They could call armored vehicles and bombers with just a phone call. No matter how powerful the Quishan sect was, they were only experts at the demon general level. They were still afraid of these things. I don't dare. Yao Baoang said quickly. Well, my shift ends tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to Songning City. You can go too, but I have to investigate first before making a decision. Vice President Nian said. Okay, then I'll prepare the car and come over early tomorrow morning. Yao Baoang said happily. There's no need for the car. We have a car. Vice President Nian said, let's meet at the Qing family. Yes. Yao Baoang didn't dare to say more. Then I'll leave first. After Yao Baoang left, Vice President Nian laughed and took out her phone to dial a number. When it was connected, she said, Old Xia, long time no see. Happy New Year. Oh. You're Old Xia. The person who answered the phone was a little surprised. You old man, didn't you just call a few days ago to wish us a Happy New Year? As for meeting. It's difficult for you to come over, right? We're all on the same side. I understand. Isn't there a chance this time? It just so happens that I have a mediation mission. I'm going to the secular world. Songning City, if you're free, come over. Let's get together. Vice President Nian said with a smile, it's been a long time. It's been more than 10 years since I was assigned to the outer martial arts world. Yeah, I didn't expect you to have a mediation mission in the secular world. That's really strange. Old Xia said, I'll make some arrangements here. I'll go over tonight. It just so happens that I have an acquaintance in Songning City. Let's go over and have a meal together. Okay, no problem. Vice President Nian agreed readily. See you tomorrow. The next morning, when the sky was still bright, Vice President Nian drove to the secular world. At the intersection of the highway, she saw a car from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Old Xia, you're quite early. Vice President Nian opened the window and greeted the car. I just arrived too. Old Xia said with a smile, let's go. I've booked a hotel and asked the hotel to prepare a banquet. The two cars drove one after another. Old Xia led the way in front while Vice President Nian followed closely behind. On the way, Old Xia dialed a number and said, Xiao Chen, where are you? I'm in Songning City. An old friend is here. Do you want to come out and have a chat? It turned out that Old Xia was the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Xia Zhili. He and Vice President Nian were bosom friends. When they were young, both of them were the backbone elites of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. They did missions together and practiced together. However, Vice President Nian was later assigned to the Outer Martial Arts World Guild, and Xia Zhili was promoted step by step. Both of them were far apart and could only rely on the phone to contact each other. Xia Zhili looked for Xiao Chen, so Xiao Chen naturally agreed. He was harassed by Xiao Xiao for a whole night yesterday, which made him feel exhausted. He felt that it was more difficult than fighting with others. Fortunately, Xiao Chen felt a glimmer of a breakthrough in the latter half of the night. Perhaps the life-and-death battle during the day had made him feel the way. He spent the latter half of the night in the midst of a breakthrough, so Xiao Xiao naturally did not dare to disturb him. However, what made Xiao Chen a little depressed was that although he had successfully become a cultivator at the second level of the foundation establishment stage, all the spiritual jades and spiritual stones that he had obtained in the Hakanamada desert had been taken away. When he woke up in the morning, he felt refreshed. He happened to receive a call from Xia Zhili, so he rushed to the hotel as agreed. "Old Mr. Nian, let me introduce you. This is my right-hand man in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau." Xia Zhili waved at Xiao Chen, who was walking over, and introduced him to Vice President Nian. "Xiao Chen, Deputy Bureau Chief Yang." "What?" Vice President Nian was stunned. Of course, there were 3 reasons why she was shocked. Firstly, this person was called Xiao Chen. Wasn't he the person that Yao Baoang mentioned when he was complaining to her? Secondly, why was this person's surname Xiao, but he was called Deputy Director Yang? What kind of address was this? Thirdly, this person was already the Deputy Director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Why was he still Xia Zhili's subordinate? Are you confused? His identity in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau is called Yang Jiannan, but his real identity is Xiao Chen. Xia Zhili explained with a smile. He thought that Vice President Nian was shocked because of this. Yang Jiannan? He actually became the deputy director? Vice President Nian was stunned. She knew about Yang Jiannan, but she was a little surprised about Yang Jiannan's promotion. This is a long story. Let's talk about it while we walk. Xia Zhili didn't want to hide it from Vice President Nian. It was obvious that the two of them were very close. When they were young, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were friends for life and death. After entering the private room, Xiao Chen automatically took on the role of a waiter and poured tea for the two of them. In Xiao Chen's eyes, Xia Zhili was always a senior that he was indebted to. So, no matter if his ability would surpass Xia Zhili in the future, he would always be respectful to Xia Zhili. And this elder was Xia Zhili's friend. So, Xiao Chen was naturally very respectful to him. After listening to Xia Zhili's story of Xiao Chen's legend, Vice President Nian couldn't help but be amazed. So there are such twists and turns. But old Xia, do you know why I'm here this time? Why? Xia Zhili was stunned. I'm afraid this matter is related to Xiao Chen. Vice President Nian couldn't help but smile bitterly. If I didn't know Xiao Chen and didn't know that you are old Xia's capable subordinate, I'm afraid I wouldn't be in such a difficult position. But now. Chapter 698. Oh. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Along the way, he already knew Vice President Nian's identity and knew that he was in charge of the disputes of the outer martial arts world. However, he did not expect him to be here for his own matter. He could not help but be a little shocked. Vice President Nian, it seems that I'm not related to the outer martial arts world, right? Yes, Elder Nian, what's going on? Xia Zhili also frowned. The Outer Martial Arts Guild can still interfere with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau of the secular world? You're also from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, right? This, old Xia, you've misunderstood. Our matter this time started because of the Kuei Mountain sect, and the person involved is the secular world's Xiao Chen, not the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Yang Jiannan. Vice President Nian said, actually, the matter is very simple, it's like this. As he spoke, Vice President Nian recounted what had happened. He also mentioned the purpose of his trip, which was to facilitate the marriage. He had no intention of finding trouble with Xiao Chen. It was just that this matter involved Xiao Chen. What? This Yao Baoang is really shameless. How can he say such things? Xiao Chen's face was a little gloomy. He did not expect these people to not let it go after being humiliated. They were so good at stirring up trouble and actually came to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to stand up for them. Vice President Nian, Qing Menjing is my fiancé. The Cheng and Xiao families have an engagement first. How can it be the Kuei Mountain sect? Oh. There are such twists and turns in this matter? Vice President Nian's face was a little ugly. Yao Baoang did not mention this previously. Xiao Chen, tell me, what exactly is going on? Actually, I have to start from the beginning. I also want Vice President Nian to help me analyze the Kuei Mountain sect's intentions and why they have been secretly targeting our Shao family. Xiao Chen had long wanted to find someone to find out about the Kuei Mountain sect. This time, Vice President Nian happened to come knocking on his door. How could he miss this good opportunity? Go ahead. Vice President Nian nodded and said, let me see if there is any way to turn this matter around. This has to start from my father's disappearance a long time ago. As Xiao Chen spoke, he told Vice President Nian everything he knew and what he had found out from his investigations. Since this person was Xia Zhili's good friend, he was also someone who could be trusted. Xia Zhili and Vice President Nian listened to Xiao Chen's narration without blinking. Even after Xiao Chen finished, the two of them were still frowning and thinking about the information contained in this matter. If the whole thing was really like this, then it was really too shocking for them. The Kuei Mountain sect had been scheming to deal with a worldly family that had nothing to do with them. A third-rate family, not even a real family. Xiao Chen Xiaolong. If Qing Zhongfan wasn't a member of the Kuei Mountain sect, then everything he did might have been a scheme to swallow up the Xiao family. However, his current identity meant that he couldn't care less about a small family like the Xiao family. There was something strange about this. Also, Chen Xiaolong wanted to lure someone out, but who could it be? Vice President Nian also thought that the Xiao family did not have anyone to lure out, and the Xiao family did not have any backing from the outer martial world. If that's the case, although it's strange, I have no clue. Vice President Nian said honestly, although I'm the Vice President of the External Martial Arts Guild, I don't know much about the internal affairs of each sect. I really can't guess the purpose of the Quishan sect's actions. It doesn't matter. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. This was something he could guess in advance. After all, the matter was too strange. Then the Qing family's engagement, I am naturally on your side in this matter. Vice President Nian said, but do you have an engagement document with the Qing family? I can help you, but I can't go against the principles of the Outer Martial World Guild. Even if I help you, if the Kuei Mountain sect is not satisfied, they can go back and complain to others. Then, things will become more difficult. I understand. Xiao Chen smiled understandingly. Of course, there is an engagement document. It was signed by my father and Qing Menjing's father. I can take it out. That's good. You also have an engagement document, and the time is before the Kuei Mountain sects. Then, I can help you to make their document invalid. Vice President Nian said. Thank you, Vice President Nian. Xiao Chen said gratefully with his fists clasped. He knew that this was all for Xia Zhili's sake. Otherwise, why would they bother to care about him? Since the Kuei Mountain sect had the document, they could directly determine the validity of the engagement and bypass Xiao Chen. The Outer Martial World Guild naturally had to give some face to the sects in the Outer Martial World. Xiao Chen, go and get the document first. I will go to the Qing family in a while. We will go together and have a confrontation. Vice President Nian instructed. Okay, I will go back now. Xiao Chen did not dare to delay. He stood up, said goodbye to Xia Zhili, and then hurried out of the private room. When Xiao Chen came back, the two of them were almost done eating. They went to the Qing family together. In the parking lot of the Qing family, there were also a few cars parked. Obviously, the people of the Kuei Mountain sect had arrived first. Their people had been waiting here all this time. When they saw the Martial Arts Guild's car, they hurriedly welcomed them. However, when they saw that Xiao Chen was actually among the people who got off the car, Qing Zhongfan and Little Yao were both stunned. This. Vice President Nian, he. Xiao Yao pointed at Xiao Chen in confusion. He did not understand why Xiao Chen was in the same car as Vice President Nian. You said that you have an engagement with the Qing family. I naturally have to investigate it. However, according to my investigation, this Xiao Chen also has an engagement with Qing Menjing. There is also an engagement document. What do you say? Vice President Nian asked directly as soon as she got off the car. This. Qing Zhongfan's face changed. He knew that the Xiao family and the Qing family also had an engagement document. He did not expect that Vice President Nian would investigate it, and that Xiao Chen would come and interfere. He had an idea and said quickly, "Xiao Chen, the Qing family has broken off the engagement with you. This is known to all. Why are you pestering them endlessly? Yes, Qing Menjing doesn't want you anymore. How can you be so shameless? Pestering them endlessly or something?" Yao Baoang, who had the support of Vice President Nian, also jumped out at this moment. He pointed at Xiao Chen's head and scolded, "You are Qing Menjing's servant. Do you know what a servant is? Do you want to be a toad that wants to eat swan meat? Are you showing off in front of me?" Xiao Chen's eyes turned cold. This stupid guy still coveted Qing Menjing. If there weren't so many people here, Xiao Chen would have slapped him to death. He had just made a breakthrough yesterday, and he was worried that there was no one to practice with. What's wrong with showing off? Are you envious? Do you need me to show off and fly with you? At this moment, Yao Baoang was not afraid of Xiao Chen at all. He was confident that with the people of the External Martial Arts Guild present, Xiao Chen would not dare to do anything to him. Pa! Xiao Chen slapped Yao Baoang and directly sent him flying. He said disdainfully, "How dare you show off and fly?" Bang! Yao Baoang fell flat on his face. Of course, with Vice President Nian around, Xiao Chen couldn't kill him. He only taught him a lesson and made him look a little pathetic. However, Yao Baoang was flustered and exasperated. He crawled up from the ground and glared at Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, you dare to make a move? This time, I let you show off and fly. Next time, if you show off in front of me, I will disable you." Xiao Chen's face was full of disdain. What? Do you still want to fight? Do you dare? You. Yao Baoang was so angry that he was fuming. "Xiao Chen, how dare you?" Qing Zhongfan pointed at Xiao Chen and said angrily, "The vice president of the External Martial Arts Guild is here. Do you not take him seriously?" All right, Yao Baoang was the one who provoked Xiao Chen first and said some nasty words. Xiao Chen didn't kill him either, so let's call it even. Vice President Nian waved her hand and said, "If you have any questions, you can complain to me, but don't make personal attacks." Yes. Qing Zhongfan was so angry that his teeth itched. Although this matter was a punishment for both sides, he was still the one who suffered a loss. However, he did not dare to disobey Vice President Nian's words, so he could only say, "The Qing family and the Xiao family broke off the engagement. This matter is known to everyone. Vice President Nian, please investigate." "Oh, is there a document to break off the engagement?" Vice President Nian asked. This. No, but there is no need for a document to break off the engagement. Qing Zhongfan was stunned and quickly explained, the situation at that time was that the Qing family and the Xiao family broke off. How could the two families sign the document calmly? This is just your side of the story. I'm looking at the evidence. Vice President Nian said, "I've looked at both documents. The marriage contract on Xiao Chen's side was dated earlier, so it is judged that the marriage contract signed earlier is valid. The marriage contract between the Xiao family and the Qing family is valid. The marriage contract between the Quishan sect and the Qing family is invalid. Do you have any objections?" How could this be? Little Yao was stunned. He looked at Qing Zhongfan and wanted to ask him to think of a solution. "Vice President Nian, you are biased." Qing Zhongfan said with a bitter smile. "What do you mean? I'm acting according to the evidence. How dare you say that I'm biased? The two pieces of evidence are placed in front of us. Anyone can see that the Xiao family is in the right." Vice President Nian said resolutely. She directly placed the two marriage contracts on the table for everyone to see. But Qing Zhongfan looked at the dates on the two marriage contracts and did not know what to say for a moment. Little Yao and Yao Baoang also looked depressed at the moment. Could it be that things are not going to work? Then this time, looking for the outer martial arts guild to stand up for them was really lifting a rock and dropping it on their own feet. It was simply asking for trouble. Oh, right. Qing Zhongfan looked at the signatures on the 2 marriage contracts, and his eyes suddenly lit up. According to the rules of the martial arts circle, the validity of a document must be approved by both parties who signed it. If one party has a dispute, this party must show reasonable evidence. Chapter 699. That's right, but the Xiao family and the Qing family have no objections now. Qing Zhongming, Qing Tianxiu, do you have any objections? Vice President Nian asked. No. Qing Tianxiu and Qing Zhongming shook their heads. Okay, then Xiao Chen, do you have any questions? Vice President Nian continued to ask. No. Xiao Chen shook his head. That's it. No one has any objections. What else do you have to say? Vice President Nian looked at Qing Zhongfan and asked. No, what I mean is, on this marriage contract, it was signed by Xiao Feng of the Xiao family and Qing Zhongming of the Qing family, but I suspect that Xiao Feng's signature is fake. This is forged by the Qing family's wishful thinking. Qing Zhongfan waved his hand and said while shaking his head. What? Qing Zhongming couldn't help but be furious after hearing it. Qing Zhongfan, don't talk nonsense. The Xiao family didn't say that it's fake. Why do you have a problem? The Xiao family didn't say it, but it doesn't mean that it's not fake. Qing Zhongfan said, according to the rules of Wulin, the signatories of both parties who signed the contract must be present at the same time to prove that this document is real. Other people's words don't count. Unless you have evidence to prove that this document is signed by Xiao Feng, otherwise, find him for a confrontation. You. Qing Zhongming was furious. Don't you know how brother Xiao Feng disappeared? You still have the face to say this. You want to find him? I'm just stating the facts. Qing Zhongfan didn't care and looked at Vice President Nian. Vice President Nian, the authenticity of this document may have a problem, so I'll ask the Xiao family to show the evidence. Is there any problem? This. Of course not. Vice President Nian didn't expect Qing Zhongfan to come up with such a move, so he was caught unprepared. This document was signed by Xiao Feng. According to the rules, there was no problem finding Xiao Feng to confront, but Xiao Feng had disappeared. Where could they find him? If that was the case, he would have to pay attention to the doubts of the Qing family. He couldn't just jump to a conclusion. Moreover, Qing Zhongfan was a member of the Qing family. Even if Qing Tianxiu and Qing Zhongming had no objections, he couldn't ignore Qing Zhongfan's objections. This involved the reputation and prestige of the outer martial arts guild. Even if he wanted to help Xiao Chen, he was powerless. He could only look at Xiao Chen in a deep voice and said, "What evidence do you have to prove that this was signed by your father, Xiao Feng?" "I have some other handwriting written by my father. We can bring it together for judicial appraisal." On Xiao Chen's side, he also thought of a way to deal with it and said calmly. "In that case, how can you prove that these were written by Xiao Feng?" "Unless you find Xiao Feng and let him write a few words personally for appraisal, otherwise, I have reason to suspect that you have been faking it." Without waiting for Vice President Nian to express her opinion, Qing Zhongfan raised his doubts again. To be honest, Qing Zhongfan's approach was a bit unreasonable. There was always legal evidence to prove that this document was signed by Xiao Feng personally. But the key problem was that the outer martial arts guild didn't care about these. Many of their customs still retained the ancient traditions. The greatest evidence was the witness. Without the witness, the others could only be regarded as auxiliary evidence. If there is no evidence, then our documents are naturally the most effective. Qing Zhongfan said, "This has the signature of Qing Tianxiu and Xiao Yao, so please give us justice, Vice President Nian." Looking at the overbearing Qing Zhongfan, Vice President Nian felt a headache coming on. He was incomparably furious, but he couldn't say anything to refute. The other party had seized on this point of disagreement and expanded it infinitely, leaving him unable to deal with it for a while. Ahem. Vice President Nian coughed twice and looked at Xiao Chen to see what he would say. Xiao Chen was also a little depressed. He didn't expect Qing Zhongfan to make an issue of the signature. If he insisted that this was not signed by his father and was fake, then he really couldn't take out any evidence. Even if he took out, he could deny it. After all, his father wasn't present. May I ask, Vice President Nian, according to the rules of the martial arts circle, must there be a witness? Xiao Chen didn't say much nonsense and just asked. This is a must. Vice President Nian nodded and said, in the martial arts circle, this is the most convincing. People in the martial arts circle pay particular attention to confronting on the spot and questioning face to face, so, speaking of this, Vice President Nian smiled bitterly. He didn't continue, but in fact, he was also hinting to Xiao Chen that he would definitely help if he could help. But now there was no reason to refuse, and he had no other way. Xiao Chen frowned. He didn't expect Qing Zhongfan to be so difficult to deal with. Looking at his arrogant look, Xiao Chen really wanted to kick him to death. But even if he wanted to give face to Vice President Nian, he couldn't do so. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen said, in this case, is the opinion of the person involved not important? In the martial arts circle, the orders of parents, family, and masters are more important than anything else. Vice President Nian shook his head and smiled bitterly. Xiao Chen, if you don't have other supporting evidence, then I will make a judgment on this matter. Qing Menjing was originally quite happy. Seeing that Xiao Chen took out the marriage contract and dealt a blow to the Quishan sect, and Vice President Nian's words were obviously supporting Xiao Chen, she felt relieved at this moment. She felt that Xiao Chen really had a way to deal with the Quishan sect's tricks again and again. But she didn't expect her second uncle, Qing Zhongfan, to come up with such a bad move. Qing Menjing felt very sad. Why did Grandma like Qing Tiannu? Why did she give birth to a traitor like Qing Zhongfan? As a woman, Qing Menjing found it hard to understand why a woman would betray her husband in a marriage. She felt that if she was with Xiao Chen, she would be faithful to him and would never have feelings for anyone else. I won't have feelings for Xiao Chen. I'm just giving an example. No matter what, although Qing Menjing comforted herself in her heart, she was very anxious at the same time. She didn't want to marry Yao Baoang. She might as well die. However, looking at Xiao Chen's helpless look, Qing Menjing's face turned pale. Was there really no other way? Yes, how could there be any other way? Looking at Qing Zhongfan's cunning smile, Qing Menjing was a little resentful. She should have been more ruthless and let Xiao Chen kill him. Vice President Nian, even if I go to find evidence, I need time, right? My father is missing, and I have to find him. Xiao Chen suddenly said, I believe you should also understand that this marriage contract is real. It's just that Qing Zhongfan is nitpicking. Uncle Qing Zhongming and my Xiao family both approved it, but he insisted on doubting it. So please allow me to find a witness, which is my father. Oh. Vice President Nian was in a dilemma. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, her eyes suddenly lit up and she laughed. That's right, Xiao Chen, you're right. Your contract seems to be real. You just lack a witness. In that case, I'll allow you to find the witness and then make a decision. Thank you, Vice President Nian. Xiao Chen cupped his fists and smiled. He was overjoyed in his heart. This was simply a trick of delaying. Anyway, you're letting me find the witness. Why do you care how long I take to find him? If I can't find him forever, you'll have to wait. Sooner or later, you'll die. Vice President Nian, I'm afraid this isn't appropriate, right? Qing Zhongfan frowned. He thought it was foolproof, but he didn't expect Xiao Chen to come up with such a suggestion. What's inappropriate about it? My judgment is fair and just. Do you have any objections? Do you want to object? Vice President Nian snorted. Of course not. How would I dare to object? On the contrary, I also feel that Vice President Nian's decision is extremely wise. But what I mean is, even if you want to find a witness, there should be a deadline, right? We can't wait forever just because Xiao Chen said so, right? By then, it would be too late. Qing Zhongfan said with a smile. Xiao Chen's face darkened. He didn't expect this guy to be an old fox. He even guessed his plan. It seemed like the plan wouldn't work. You're right. Let's do it this way. Let's use 3 years as the deadline. If Xiao Chen can't find a witness within 3 years, then the Qing family will naturally fulfill the marriage agreement with the Kushan sect. Vice President Nian said. Generally, the agreement in the martial arts circle was 3 years. It was the same for martial arts competitions. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to say 3 years. But if it was a little more, it would be a little biased. No one could find fault with it now. Of course, but we have a condition. Although 3 years was a little long, it wasn't impossible. This year, Qing Menjing was only 19 years old. 3 years later, she would be 22 years old. People in the secular world got married at this age. Therefore, Qing Zhongfan agreed. What condition? Vice President Nian asked. Qing Menjing must accompany us back to the sect. Qing Zhongfan said. How can this be? What if you bring her back and force her? Xiao Chen immediately objected. This definitely won't happen. Our Kushan sect is also a big sect. We still have this bit of credibility. Little Yaozi also stood up at this time and promised resolutely. He felt that this matter could be fought for. Yes, we have evidence now. We can't say that you're looking for evidence. We'll just let it go. This is also a kind of compensation for us. Otherwise, we're afraid that you'll do something desperate and hide Qing Menjing. Qing Zhongfan also said. This. Xiao Chen couldn't help but look at Vice President Nian, asking him to make a decision. Xiao Chen, their request isn't too much. The Qing family can go to the Kushan sect. In the name of the External Martial Arts Guild, if the Kushan sect dares to violate the agreement and touch a single hair of Qing Menjing, we will punish the Kushan sect. Vice President Nian thought for a moment and said slowly. In fact, he had no other way. It was unreasonable to look for evidence. If the Kushan sect went back and appealed to the External Martial Arts Guild, it might change the verdict. Chapter 700. Therefore, in order to cut the Gordian knot, Vice President Nian had no choice but to satisfy their request. Fortunately, he was supervising this matter. In his opinion, Qing Menjing would not make any mistakes. The Kuei Mountain sect did not dare to do so. After all, this could anger the Outer Martial Arts Guild and damage their reputation. Why would they do such a thing? Although Xiao Chen did not want to agree, he knew that he had to agree when he saw Vice President Nian's expression. This was not a compromise to the Kuei Mountain sect, but a show of respect for Vice President Nian. Since the Outer Martial Arts Guild was involved, it was not something that Xiao Chen could change alone. However, Xiao Chen also knew that it all came down to strength. He originally thought that he was already very strong now. Killing a few devil generals through trickery made Xiao Chen's confidence almost burst. However, he calmed down now. Sneak attacks and trickery were not the way to go. If he had the strength to destroy the Kuei Mountain sect now, would the Kuei Mountain sect dare to talk nonsense with him? Even if they had the marriage contract in hand, they would pretend that it did not exist. Strength. Xiao Chen clenched his fists. He had to improve his strength. Fortunately, he had time. In 3 years, Xiao Chen was confident that he could look down on the Kuei Mountain sect and even the outer martial arts world. All right, I believe you. However, you have to remember that in 3 years, I will be looking for evidence. In these 3 years, I don't want Menjing to be unhappy. Xiao Chen took a deep breath. Suddenly, he felt a sense of loss and reluctance. Was the Missy leaving too? Originally, he thought that he could return to the villa after the new year and resume his previous life of sharing a house. He did not expect that in the blink of an eye, she would be leaving. Xiao Chen could not stop it. Fortunately, Vice President Nian was his guarantor. Otherwise, Xiao Chen would not be at ease to let Qing Menjing live in the Kuei Mountain sect. At this moment, his heart was filled with a deep sense of unwillingness. Qing Menjing breathed a sigh of relief. Although she was also a little disappointed, she also knew that this was the best outcome that Xiao Chen could fight for. At the very least, he had delayed it for another 3 years. It didn't matter if she could find Xiao Feng within 3 years. Qing Menjing believed that Xiao Chen would have the ability to take her away from the Quishan sect within 3 years. That would be enough. Alright, if that's the case, I hereby announce that the time limit is 3 years. Within these 3 years, the Qing family will only stay in the Kuei Mountain sect temporarily. No one is allowed to interfere with her personal freedom or force her to do anything. Violators will be punished by the External Martial Arts Guild, and even the Kuei Mountain sect will be implicated. Vice President Nian announced, "Xiao Chen, go find evidence." "I have no objections." After Qing Zhongfan finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Chen and chuckled. "Xiao Chen, good luck. I hope you can find Xiao Feng within 3 years. Ha 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 ha." In Qing Zhongfan's opinion, Xiao Chen would not be able to find him even if he was given 30 years. Xiao Feng had been missing for so long and should have died long ago. Therefore, Qing Menjing must be a member of the Kuei Mountain sect. He never thought that Xiao Chen would have the ability to shake the Kuei Mountain sect. After all, the power of one person and the power of a sect could not be mentioned in the same breath. "I have no objections either." Xiao Chen took a deep breath and said, "In that case, Qing family, pack up your things and follow us back to the Kuei Mountain sect." Qing Zhongfan said to Qing Tianxiu with a smile. "Qing Zhongfan, since I've already agreed to your request, I won't go back on my word. However, Menjing and I have lived in the same villa for so long. It's not a big deal for us to have a farewell dinner together, right? You won't disagree, right?" Xiao Chen looked at Qing Zhongfan indifferently. "You better not provoke me. Otherwise, who knows what I'll do." "You." Qing Zhongfan felt threatened by Xiao Chen and was instantly enraged. Although Vice President Nian was there, Vice President Nian could only guarantee the smooth implementation of his decisions. As for whether Xiao Chen would play any tricks, it was out of her control. Therefore, Qing Zhongfan had no choice but to say, "Of course, go ahead. We'll set off for the sect tomorrow. Let's go, Missy." Xiao Chen waved to Qing Menjing. Who wants to have a farewell dinner with you?" "I don't care." Qing Menjing felt that it was a little embarrassing to be waved away by Xiao Chen. She couldn't help but say, "I'm just going to the villa to get something useful." However, in Yao Boang's eyes, he was extremely surprised. It seemed that this was just Xiao Chen's wishful thinking to fulfill the engagement. Qing Menjing didn't like him at all. Then, his opportunity had come. As long as he launched an attack at the sect, if Qing Menjing was willing to be with him, then it would not be forced. At that time, he wouldn't have to wait for 3 years. He might even be able to get intimate with her. At that time, even if Xiao Chen found Xiao Feng as a witness, and Qing Menjing had become a broken flower, he wouldn't want her anymore. It would be convenient for him. Qing Menjing silently followed behind Xiao Chen. After eating the Qing family dinner, they got into the car. The two of them were a little silent. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became a little cold. Obviously, Qing Menjing didn't know what to say. At this time of parting, any words would only add to the sadness. "I'm sorry." Xiao Chen suddenly said, "I couldn't let you stay, it's not your fault." Grandpa was deceived by Qing Zhongfan, so he signed the engagement document. Qing Menjing sighed and was a little silent. After a while, she suddenly raised her head and stared at Xiao Chen with her bright eyes without blinking. She asked word by word, "Xiao Chen, tell me the truth. Do you really want to fulfill the engagement between the Xiao family and the Qing family?" Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Under Qing Menjing's gaze, he was a little evasive. "Yes, do I really want to fulfill the engagement? Do I really like Qing Menjing? I should like her. Xiao Chen recalled that there was no passion between him and the young lady like there was with Shen Jingxian. There was no sweetness and warmth between him and Tang Tang. There was only a plain and ordinary relationship between him and her. However, thinking about it carefully, Xiao Chen had regarded Qing Menjing as his woman from the beginning because she was his fiancée. At that time, Xiao Chen thought that this beautiful girl would become his woman no matter what. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to her, nor did he care that much. He didn't even take the initiative to pursue her. However, when he recalled the time in the villa, the two of them were together day and night. Although there was no passion or sweetness, there was the kind of faint mutual help between a husband and wife. It was true that it was plain. I know. You want to help me. You don't want me to marry into the Quishan sect. Qing Menjing saw that Xiao Chen was stunned and didn't answer. She couldn't help but laugh at herself. Yes, I am overbearing, willful, unruly, and arrogant. How could Xiao Chen like me? Otherwise, he wouldn't have cheated on me with Shen Jingxian under my nose. He even got together with Yi Xiaoya. And Tang Tang. No, I've always regarded you as my fiancé. Xiao Chen turned to look at Qing Menjing. He no longer evaded her gaze and said solemnly, Menjing, I'm sorry. I admit that I hurt you a lot by pursuing Shen Jingxian in front of you. This is not what a fiancé should do. Therefore, after I became your servant, I tried my best to make it up to you. However, at that time, I thought that I had lost you, so I could only silently protect you. However, after that, I gained strength. I used Xiao Chang's identity to win Grandpa Cheng's approval and made you my fiancé once again. At that moment, I was so happy. Only then did I understand that I had always treated you as my. You make it sound so disgusting. Who wants to be your fiancé? Let me tell you, I just feel that the engagement was made by Uncle Xiao. Now that he is gone, we should abide by it as juniors. Don't think that I like you. I won't. Qing Menjing snorted, but she suddenly felt inexplicably happy in her heart. Give Bei Bei a call and tell her that we are waiting for her at the villa for dinner. Hee, okay. Xiao Chen picked up the phone with a smile. Although he was a little sad, he pretended that nothing had happened. However, on the other side of the phone, there was a notification that the phone was turned off. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. Menjing, Bei Bei's phone is turned off. Turned off? Qing Menjing was also very puzzled. Maybe it ran out of battery and went to charge it? This girl is always too lazy to charge it. Send her a text message. She may see it when she turns it on later. Xiao Chen nodded and sent a text message. He told her that he and Qing Menjing had gone to the villa and asked her to come over when she saw the text message. The car stopped at the door of the villa. When the familiar door opened, they saw Yi Xiaoya lying on the sofa lazily and watching TV. She was holding a super invincible dog in her arms. If it were any other time, Qing Menjing would definitely mock Yi Xiaoya. However, now that they were leaving, she didn't have the mood to do so. Instead, she felt a little reluctant. Hey? Xiao Chen, Menjing? Why are you back? It's not the end of the new year? Yi Xiaoya saw the two of them and was a little puzzled. Nothing, Xiaoya. I'm leaving. I came back to have a meal with you. Qing Menjing said with some melancholy, in the future, in the villa, no one will quarrel with you. What do you mean? You are leaving too? Yi Xiaoya was stunned and looked at Qing Menjing in disbelief. You are not lying to me, right? Today is not April Fool's Day, right? Why would I lie to you? Who else is leaving? You are leaving too? Qing Menjing asked a little impatiently. Bei Bei came back last night and said that he was leaving. He asked me to give you this letter. As Yi Xiaoya said this, she picked up an envelope from the coffee table and handed it to Qing Menjing. So, I was surprised when you said that you were leaving too. What? Bei Bei left? Where did she go? Qing Menjing was suddenly shocked. She took the envelope and said in disbelief. I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just said that you would know after reading this letter. She would tell me then. Yi Xiaoya shrugged and said, she left in a hurry yesterday and didn't have time to talk to me. Chapter 701. Qing Menjing was greatly alarmed after hearing that. Did something happen to Bei Bei? Recalling that Xiao Chen's phone was turned off when he called earlier, Qing Menjing hurried to open the envelope. There was only one piece of paper inside. Cousin Menjing, cousin-in-law, Bei Bei is leaving. Don't worry. In fact, Bei Bei is going to the mountain to learn martial arts. Grandpa is already a general. So, according to the rules of the sect, he is not allowed to stay in the mortal world. Therefore, our family has moved to the Heavenly Spring sect, where Grandpa is from. Don't worry. As an external disciple, Bei Bei will be back in 3 years. He won't run into any trouble in the sect. After all, Grandpa will take care of him. You don't need to miss Bei Bei, and you don't need to visit him. After all, as an external disciple, outsiders are not allowed to visit him. Bei Bei has some work to do every day, too. In 3 years, when you and your cousin-in-law are both grown up, you will be able to get married. Bei Bei will go back to attend your wedding. Alright, time is limited. Let's not talk about it anymore. Grandpa is afraid that the sect will blame him. So, he took me away overnight. So, you don't need to look for me anymore. I will certainly contact you after I settle down. Rich Jean Bei Bei. Ow. Ow. Reading the content of the letter, Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing found it hard to accept it. Jean Bei Bei had left just like that? Why would she leave just like that? But sometimes, things were just so unexpected. For other people, Qing Menjing had left just like that, too. In fact, Xiao Chen vaguely guessed something. Yesterday, the gold fur lion suddenly helped him and revealed his capability as a general. As a result, his capability had been exposed. If the so-called rules of the sect were true, he had to return to the sect as soon as possible. I didn't expect that. Bei Bei would leave just like that. Qing Menjing was silent for a long time before she said gloomily, Xiao Chen, I feel like I'm dreaming. I feel that everything is a dream, and Bei Bei and I are back after I wake up. But I don't think so. Yes, no. Xiao Chen nodded. Bei Bei, I chose to leave because of old Master Jin's help. Yesterday, Martial Uncle Tsong of the Kuei Mountain sect attacked with Little Yao. If it wasn't for old Master Jin's intervention, you might not have seen me. So, it's not wrong to say that I left because I wanted to leave. No, it's all because of me. If not for me, why would the Kuei Mountain sect look for you? Qing Menjing shook her head. Grandpa Jean is helping you in name, but he's actually helping me. Let's not discuss this issue. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, Qing Zhongfan has wanted to deal with me for a long time. He has never given up. However, it seems that Bei Bei is not in any danger. I can rest assured about this. Yes. Qing Menjing nodded. Jean Bei Bei was different from her. She went to the Kuei Mountain sect with an awkward identity, but Jean Bei Bei was an ordinary outer disciple. It's actually a good thing that all of you left. After the new year, I have to return to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau often. I've taken over Yang Jiannan's identity, so I have to be frequently assigned tasks. So, I can't return to the villa often. Xiao Chen comforted her. Pfft, who cares? Do you think I'm staying here because of you? You're so full of yourself. Qing Menjing snorted. Hurry up and cook. I'm hungry. Hee hee, okay. Xiao Chen nodded and went to work. During this time, Yi Xiaoya didn't interrupt them. Instead, she listened quietly and didn't seem to understand. During the meal, Yi Xiaoya finally understood that it was because of the Kuei Mountain sect. Hearing the 3 words, Kuei Mountain sect, Yi Xiaoya could not help but be silent. Xiao Chen, although you're a disciple of the Devil Star sect, you can't compete with the Kuei Mountain sect. They are the top demonic sect in the outer martial arts world. I know. I'm just a little unwilling. Xiao Chen sighed. But during the day, although I'm unwilling, I still have to give face to Vice President Nian. Then, are you really going to find your father? Yi Xiaoya asked. Are you confident that you can find your father within 3 years? No. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, I'll definitely find my father, but I won't entrust this kind of thing to this kind of unknown thing. Let's see. I have some plans. Xiao Chen, don't do anything rash. Cheng Menjing was shocked after hearing Xiao Chen's words. Since Xiao Chen did not intend to find his father to solve the problem of the Kuei Mountain sect, did that mean he wanted to fight head-on? But how could Xiao Chen be his opponent? If Xiao Chen died because of her, then Cheng Menjing would rather stay in the Kuei Mountain sect. Previously, Xiao Chen was chased out of the family because of his uncle, Cheng Zhongqian. Although it was not because of Cheng Menjing, it was more or less related. At that time, Cheng Menjing felt guilty. Otherwise, she would not have secretly taken care of and protected Xiao Chen. Now that she heard that Xiao Chen might do something impulsive, she immediately became a little nervous. Although she usually acted as if she was superior and did not put Xiao Chen in her eyes at all, in fact, deep in her heart, Cheng Menjing still felt that she owed Xiao Chen a lot. It was the Cheng family that owed him, which meant that Cheng Menjing owed him, because she was also a member of the Cheng family. Xiao Chen had repaid evil with good and had already helped the Cheng family too much. How could she ask Xiao Chen to take risks because of her? How could she face Uncle Xiao Feng? Cheng Menjing did not want to, and she was even more unwilling to do so. Therefore, she would rather be wrong than let Xiao Chen do it by force. The current development of the matter had obviously exceeded the scope of Xiao Chen's ability. Even if she had confidence in Xiao Chen, with the involvement of the External Martial Arts Union, Xiao Chen had to give them face. This was not just a matter of the Quishan sect. Don't worry, I won't act recklessly. Xiao Chen said with a smile, if I die, won't you be a widow? You're so annoying. Cheng Menjing glared at Xiao Chen. You're still joking at this time? I'm not joking. You're my fiancé. I can't not care. Don't think too much. It's okay. Xiao Chen said with a smile, but he secretly made a decision in his heart. Previously, with Vice President Nian in front of him, it was not easy for Xiao Chen to complete the plan. Now that he had calmed down, a set of plans had already formed in Xiao Chen's mind. However, whether it could be useful or not, he could only leave it to fate. Do your best and leave it to fate. Some things were different from not doing it. At least, Xiao Chen had to work hard to have a clear conscience. Menjing, I have a suggestion. Do you want to hear it? Yi Xiaoye suddenly said. Cheng Menjing looked at Yi Xiaoye with some surprise. What kind of suggestion would she give her? Didn't this girl always disagree with her before? Since it's a foregone conclusion that you'll go to the Quishan sect, I think you can practice the mantra and become a diabolical cultivator while protecting yourself. Yi Xiaoye said, you're going to marry Yao Baoang in the future, so if you want to practice, they will only be happier. They will think that you've given up and don't think highly of Xiao Chen, so they will be very supportive of you. Cheng Menjing nodded, not really understanding. However, Yi Xiaoye's suggestion seemed to be really good, so she still said, Xiao Chen said he'll take me away. I know that. Yi Xiaoye didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why are you so silly? Of course I know he can take you away, but you stayed there for 3 years. Did you just stay there for 3 years? You used his resources to practice, and then you can help Xiao Chen in the future. If you become a master diabolical cultivator, you won't have to worry about bringing trouble to Xiao Chen anymore. Instead, you'll become his helper. Do you understand? Yes, yes. Cheng Menjing's eyes lit up. She understood. Also, I suggest that you try to choose the mantra that only first ladies can practice. By the way, did Xiao Chen reject you? Yi Xiaoye suddenly looked at Cheng Menjing with a faint smile, sizing her up. Ah. How? How is that possible? I'm not that easy to reject. Qing Menjing was embarrassed. Her face turned red, and she was a little embarrassed. Why did you choose this? What little Yi means is that Yao Baoang has feelings for you. Although there's the supervision of the Outer Martial Arts Guild, it's hard to guarantee that he won't be overwhelmed by his lust. You're practicing this mantra, which is equivalent to adding an extra layer of protection. Before the mantra is completed, he can't touch you, and the sect won't allow him to do so. Xiao Qin explained. That's right. The Quishan sect is the #1 diabolical sect in the outer martial arts world. They have many mantra, so they should have it. At least you'll be much stronger there than in the Devil Star sect, and your strength will improve faster. Yi Xiaoya nodded. I see. Qing Menjing was a little embarrassed when she heard the words, overwhelmed by his lust, but she still agreed. She thought to herself, if I don't succeed, will Xiao Qin also not be able to touch me? Who cares? I won't let him touch me. Humph, if he wants to touch me, he can touch Shen Jingxian. In fact, if you think about it from another perspective, it's a shortcut for you to embark on the road of devil cultivation. With the level of the Qing family, it's absolutely impossible for them to provide you with these superior conditions. With all due respect, although you're Xiao Chen's fiancé, whether you're a martial cultivator or a devil cultivator, your lifespan will also increase when your strength improves. Without strength, you'll soon grow old, while Xiao Chen is still in the prime of his life. How can you two be together? I'm afraid that at that time, Shen Jingxian and I will accompany him, or maybe Jin Beibei. You can only stand aside. Yi Xiaoya said ruthlessly. Unexpectedly, this time, Qing Menjing didn't refute Yi Xiaoya's responsibility and sarcasm. Instead, she was lost in thought and seemed to have heard it all. After a while, she nodded heavily and made up her mind, I'll practice hard. Xiao Chen, you don't have to worry about me. Thank you, little Yi. You were always against me before, but I didn't expect that you would give me some useful advice at the critical moment. Chapter 702. Quarreling is one thing. You can continue quarreling after you finish your studies. However, we are good friends after all. We should work together when it comes to external affairs. Yi Xiaoya shrugged. Well. Qing Menjing smiled. She knew that Yi Xiaoya also had feelings for Xiao Qin, but she wasn't angry. Instead, she felt that Yi Xiaoya was more sincere. It's getting late. Menjing, I'll send you back. It's not a good time to make trouble now. Xiao Qin cleaned up the tableware on the table and said to Qing Menjing, Vice President Nian is still here. We have to give him face. Okay. Qing Menjing had made up her mind, so the knot in her heart was untied. She was not so resistant to going home. After saying goodbye to Yi Xiaoya, Xiao Qin drove Qing Menjing back to the Qing family. However, at the door of the Qing family, Xiao Qin said, Menjing, I won't go in. You can go back by yourself. It will only make it more awkward if I go. Okay. Qing Menjing sighed. She was also afraid that Xiao Qin couldn't help but fight with Xiao Yao again. If that happened, the loss would outweigh the gain. Goodbye. Tomorrow, will you send me off? All right, I'll do it. Xiao Qin nodded. Okay. Qing Menjing turned around and strode into the Qing family. Looking at her back, Xiao Qin didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stepped on his flying sword and wandered around the Qing family's mansion. Soon, Xiao Qin landed in an independent courtyard. Looking at the two vague figures in the villa's hall, he couldn't help but sneer. This was where Xiao Yao and Yao Baoang stayed. Xiao Qin lay on the edge of the villa and listened to the conversation inside. Damn it, Nian is really good at stirring up trouble. Is he biased? Yao Baoang complained with some resentment. If it weren't for him, it would have been a good thing. Now we have to wait for another 3 years. You can't say that. In order to ensure fairness, the Wulin Guild must investigate in advance before making a conclusion. The Xiao family did have an engagement with the Qing family before, so it became a place of wrangling. Fortunately, senior brother Cheng was quick-witted and made up the excuse of a witness. This is also in our Wulin. If it were in the secular world, this reason would not be tenable. Little Yaozi waved his hand and said, "Heh heh, others might not know about that Xiao Feng, but how could we not know? After being schemed against by the sect, they would have long died somewhere. How could they find them? So what if you drag it out for 3 years? Won't Qing Menjing still be yours by then? And you don't have to worry. Your purpose is just to confuse the sect and make them think that you don't fight for anything. That's enough." Alas, it was like this at first, but now when I see Qing Menjing, I feel a fire in my lower abdomen. She's so beautiful, so beautiful. Speaking of this, Yao Boang's eyes flashed with a touch of intoxication. Now I can't wait to bear it for a while. Little Yao Zi sighed and said, "Now that the Wulin Guild has intervened, even if we are the number 1 devil sect in the Wulin Guild, we can't openly violate it." Heh heh, it's naturally impossible to openly violate it, but when Qing Menjing comes to our Quishan sect, isn't it still up to us? At that time, we will give her some medicine, and then she will take the initiative. It has nothing to do with us. Yao Baoang smiled and said sinisterly. "Ha, of course it's up to you." Little Yao Zi also laughed. Scum. Xiao Chen clenched his fists. It seemed that his risky plan was correct. If he let Qing Menjing go to the Quishan sect, then little Yao Zi and his son would probably pretend to agree but oppose him in secret. At that time, he would have no place to reason with them. Even if he had the strength, what could he do if he killed them? Yi Xiaoya's suggestion was indeed correct. Even if he did not succeed, if Qing Menjing really did according to Yi Xiaoya's suggestion, she could still keep her chastity. Xiao Chen didn't have the slightest confidence in a head-on clash against a devil master at the peak of the 10th layer and a devil general at the peak of the 1st layer, but he quietly instructed an little demon to wait for an opportunity to act. Then, Xiao Chen directly rushed into the villa. The door of the villa was not locked at all, and little Yao Zi and his son did not believe that any thieves could break in. Of course, they were not afraid even if they broke in. "Who is it?" Little Yao Zi heard the movement and shouted. Although their previous conversation did not involve any secrets, it was still disrespectful to the External Martial Arts Guild. If it was spread out, it would not be good. "You are so shameless. You actually thought of such a despicable method." Xiao Chen pointed at little Yao Zi and his son angrily, and scolded with his whole body trembling. "Ha, I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be Trash Xiao." When Yao Baoang saw that it was Xiao Chen, he immediately laughed mockingly. "So what? Are you going to bite me? Do you dare? Don't forget that Vice President Nian is still here." Yao Baoang could be said to be fearless. Although Xiao Chen's strength was relatively abnormal, so what? This matter was decided by the External Martial Arts Guild. Xiao Chen did not dare to do anything to them. At this moment, little Yao Zi was also calm and unruffled. He looked at Xiao Chen indifferently. "Don't say so much useless stuff. I have the marriage contract in hand. If you are capable, find a witness. If not, leave quickly. For the sake of Vice President Nian, I will not kill you." Little Yao Zi also trembled. He knew that Xiao Chen did not dare to make a move here, so he deliberately said so. In fact, he was afraid that Xiao Chen would make a move. But he knew that Xiao Chen did not dare to make a move. Sure enough, Xiao Chen was so angry that his chest was heaving, but there was nothing he could do. "Good, very good. You will get what you deserve. I will definitely find a way to find my father to prove the authenticity of this marriage contract." "Huh, go." "Huh? Who touched me?" Little Yao Zi was stunned. He felt that his body was touched a few times. When he turned his head, there was no one behind him. "Don't interrupt." Xiao Chen sneered in his heart, but on the surface, he snorted and said, "Don't change the subject. I will definitely find a way to stop it." You don't have to be happy too early. Do whatever you want. Yao Baoang looked at Xiao Chen, who was almost going crazy, sympathetically. However, he also felt that his body was touched a few times. He frowned and said, "Dad, did you touch me just now? Are you two okay? Are you trying to change the subject? Okay, then do whatever you want. I'm leaving. See you later." Xiao Chen turned around and walked out of the villa angrily. However, he was overjoyed in his heart. These two fools were so unvigilant. They couldn't be blamed for their low vigilance. It was because Xiaoma came and went without a trace. After touching them, she hid under the sofa. They couldn't see her even if they were beaten to death. Moreover, their attention was on Xiao Chen. In their opinion, Xiao Chen definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to them here, so they weren't vigilant. Otherwise, Xiao Chen wouldn't have succeeded so easily. One had to know that these two were not ordinary people. They were 10th stage Great Perfection Devil Masters and 1st stage Peak Martial Generals. If they used even a little bit of devil chi to protect themselves, Xiao Chen's plan would have failed. However, under this favorable environment, these two people still fell for it. Xiao Chen didn't leave. Instead, he lay under the window of the villa again and listened to the movements inside. This Xiao Chen is really a king idiot. He's looking for trouble. Yao Baoang shook his head. He's probably at the end of his rope. He has no other tricks, so he came to take advantage of us. Little Yao smiled and said, "Let's not care about him. Let's rest early and return to the sect tomorrow morning." "Yes." Yao Baoang nodded. Suddenly, he felt the heat in his lower abdomen become more intense. He immediately frowned. The desire was growing, and it seemed to be out of control. On the other side, Little Yao also had a reaction. His whole body was hot, and a hint of lust flashed in his eyes. He said, "Baoang, I heard that the bathing center in the secular world has that kind of special service. Let's go and take a look together." It turned out that when Xiaoma was playing tricks just now, she had sprinkled some of the medicine that Yang Jiannan had asked Xia Li to steal from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's warehouse in the room. Although it wasn't as effective as consuming it, there was still some effect when it turned into powder and was inhaled into the body. This. Yao Baoang hesitated for a moment, but said, "Forget it. The mental cultivation method I cultivate is quite special. I must have an obsession to pursue. Now, my obsession is to push down Qingmenjing. This is my first goal. I can't give up halfway. If I release my inner demon on other women, I will give up halfway. I must endure it. When the day comes, my state of mind will also improve by leaps and bounds. Alright, then I'll go first." Little Yao couldn't wait any longer. He ran out of the villa quickly and called Sheng Zhongfan as he ran. Yao Baoang, on the other hand, went to the bathroom. He planned to take a cold shower to calm himself down. Looking at the actions of the father and son, Xiao Chen secretly cursed Yao Baoang for being too troublesome. "Damn it, what inner demon? Why are you so troublesome? What the f*ck? Everything that had been planned was ruined by you." Xiao Chen was really angry. Everything went smoothly before, and Xiaoma didn't disappoint him. Who would have thought that this Yao Baoang cultivated a *T mental cultivation method? He even wanted to form an obsession in his heart. This made Xiao Chen really speechless. But fortunately, Xiao Chen still had a backup plan. He could only leave unwillingly. When he returned to the Xiao family, it was already late at night with stars. Xiao Chen pushed open the door with some physical and mental exhaustion, but he saw Xiao Xiao lying on his bed reading a book. When she saw him, she put down the book and reached out, "Brother, hug." "Xiao Xiao, why aren't you sleeping yet?" Xiao Chen looked at the time. It was already midnight. "I'm waiting for you." Xiao Xiao said bitterly, "If you don't come back, I'm afraid. I can't sleep, there's no sound of firecrackers anymore." "Why are you still afraid?" Xiao Chen was a little inexplicable. "I'm afraid that something will happen to you." I also heard about what happened to the Qing family. I'm afraid that you will fight with them, but I don't dare to look. I'm afraid that I will cause you trouble. Xiao Zhao's little face was a little pale. Brother, is Menjing leaving? Chapter 703. I'm going to the Quishan sect. Xiao Qin sighed and looked a little disappointed. It was a good plan, but Yao Baoang was the one who ruined it. Then, are you just going to let it go, or do you have another way? Xiao Xiao asked. I definitely won't let it go. Xiao Qin shook his head. Brother, is it worth it? Qing Menjing didn't like you before. When you broke off the engagement, she didn't say anything. If something happens to you because of her, What about the Xiao family? Xiao Xiao was a little anxious. This kind of woman isn't worth your effort. I think you should just forget it and let her marry into the Quishan sect. Doesn't that mean your brother doesn't have a wife? Xiao Qin smiled. Don't worry, I won't mess around. If you don't have one, then so be it. I'll be with you. Xiao Xiao was reluctant. When you're with them, don't you also kiss and hug? I can do it too. How can that be the same? Xiao Qin glared at Xiao Xiao. I can have children with them. Can you? I can too. Xiao Xiao said indignantly. Give birth to a fool? Xiao Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can that be? We're both so smart. Xiao Xiao muttered. You wasted your biology class. Xiao Qin didn't know if Xiao Xiao really didn't understand or just said it out of anger. I didn't waste my time. I'm good at it. Anyway, I think there's no problem. From a scientific point of view, there's no problem, Xiao Xiao said. All right, let's not talk about this. Xiao Chen was a little depressed. He didn't want to discuss this awkward topic. Instead, he said, Xiao Xiao, Menjing is actually quite good. When I was in trouble, she even gave me money. I gave her money too. Xiao Xiao said. She even took me in. Xiao Qin could only continue. That's what my dad and Uncle Cheng said. Xiao Xiao said again. Okay, you're good too. I didn't deny it. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. I mean, Menjing is also good. I'm sleepy. I want to sleep. Xiao Xiao didn't want to argue anymore. She could tell that Xiao Qin liked Qing Menjing a lot, so she didn't want to argue anymore. I'm fine now. Shouldn't you go back to your room to sleep? There are no firecrackers today. Xiao Qin said. I don't want to move anymore. I'm already naked. It's such a cold day. If I go out, I'll freeze to death. Xiao Xiao yawned. I'm sleepy. Brother, you come up too. I want to see Tang Tang tonight. Xiao Qin said honestly. Menjing is leaving, and you still want to do something messy with Tang Tang. How can you be like this? Are you worthy of Menjing? Xiao Xiao was a little annoyed. Ah. Xiao Qin looked at Xiao Xiao incredulously. She was just complaining about Qing Menjing. Why did she suddenly speak up for her? Anyway, you're not allowed to go. I can do whatever you want to do. Xiao Xiao said. How can I do it with you? Xiao Qin had a headache. If you don't want to do it, then go to sleep. Xiao Xiao said and turned off the lamp on the bedside. Xiao Qin had no choice but to sit next to Xiao Xiao and continue to practice. Otherwise, this girl would definitely pester him to hug her. However, Xiao Qin really couldn't hug her. Xiao Xiao wore too little. Even if they were biological siblings, he would feel guilty. He didn't know whether Xiao Xiao really didn't care or she had other thoughts. Xiao Qin always felt that Xiao Zhao's words revealed something, but he didn't want to think too much about it. In his opinion, Xiao Xiao should be a reasonable person and wouldn't think about those unethical and muddled things. In the dark, Xiao Qin could see things clearly as if it was daytime. Looking at Xiao Zhao's delicate and beautiful face, he couldn't help but sigh. When he was a child, the bun-faced girl who followed him and wanted to hug him had grown into a slim and beautiful girl. He couldn't face Xiao Xiao with the way he thought when he was a child. Now Xiao Xiao had her own ideas, but he couldn't force her to change anything. Xiao Chen didn't understand why Xiao Xiao was so hostile to Qing Menjing and Shen Jingxian. On the contrary, it seemed that Xiao Xiao didn't have such a big conflict with Tang Tang. It was impossible that Xiao Xiao didn't want him to find a girlfriend. At least Tang Tang obviously treated him differently. Was it just because, as she said, when he was down and out, only Tang Tang was with him wholeheartedly, while Shen Jingxian and Qing Menjing were with him because he had the strength? In fact, Xiao Chen knew it wasn't like this. In the past, he was a complete hedonistic idiot. It would be strange if Shen Jingxian liked him. She didn't understand him at all. Was it possible for a girl who didn't understand him to fall in love with him? In fact, Miss Cheng was the same. What he did to her was even more excessive. He pursued Shen Jingxian in front of her and claimed that Kerlin was his lover. Which fiancé could stand this kind of behavior? Therefore, Xiao Chen didn't think that they despised the poor and loved the rich. In fact, the previous situation was caused by him alone. However, it seemed that the sister and sister-in-law would never get along. It seemed that this was the truth, brother. I'm scared. In the dark, Xiao Xiao seemed to have a nightmare. Her body curled up a little and she muttered to herself. Xiao Chen sighed, patted Xiao Xiao gently, and comforted her. It's okay, I'm here, nothing happened that night. Early the next morning, Xiao Chen came to the Qing family. Of course, he was going to watch the show. On the way, he asked an little demon, "Are you sure there's no problem with what you did yesterday?" "Of course there's no problem. Boss, don't you believe me?" And little demon was a little proud. Previously, and little demon had sent Su Chuxia and Tian Wangshou back to Lan City. When he found that there was nothing wrong, he came back to look for Xiao Chen. It just so happened that Xiao Chen lacked helpers, so he left him behind. Well, there's no news. Xiao Chen drove the car into the Qing family, but he immediately found that something was wrong. Because the Qing family was shrouded in a cloud of haze, and everyone was in a hurry. Xiao Chen parked the car at the door of the living room and saw that there were already many people standing inside. In the middle of the crowd, there was a coffin. The person inside was, unsurprisingly, little Yao. Hee hee. Xiao Chen almost laughed out loud. It's over, he's dead. Today seems to be a very happy day. Why is everyone so happy? Is something good about to happen? Xiao Chen walked into the living room and said happily, "Oh, I know. Menjing doesn't have to go anymore, right?" "Xiao Chen, what do you mean? My father is dead, and you're so gloating?" Yao Boang's eyes were already red from crying. At this time, when he heard Xiao Chen's sarcastic words, he suddenly became furious. He jumped up and pointed at Xiao Chen, F***CKU. If you have the guts, fight me one-on-one. Boom! Xiao Chen directly kicked Yao Baoang away. For Xiao Chen, who had never seen his mother since he was a child, Yao Boang's words happened to hit his sore spot. Yao Baoang screamed. He didn't expect Xiao Chen to really dare to attack. Of course, Xiao Chen dared to attack. He was still a little afraid of little Yao, but in his eyes, Yao Baoang was a complete piece of trash. Although it was not easy to kill him, it was not difficult to plot to kill him. "Xiao Chen, how dare you make a scene in the morning hall?" Qing Zhongfan glared at Xiao Chen angrily. "Do you know the consequences of going against the Quishan sect?" "Yes, I do." "Isn't it against the Xiao family? Haven't you always been against them?" Xiao Chen curled his lips and said lightly, "Or, if I don't go against them, you will stop." "You?" Qing Zhongfan was speechless. Indeed, whether Xiao Chen went against the Quishan sect or not, they had always been against Xiao Chen. "I heard that little Yao went out to find a woman, and in a moment of excitement, he played himself to death. Sigh, it's really tragic." Although you may be sad, I am still very happy. Xiao Chen smiled and said, Vice President Nian, according to what Qing Zhongfan said, this marriage contract was signed by Little Yao, but now that he is dead, there are no witnesses. Does this mean that the marriage contract is invalid? This. Vice President Nian was stunned. She did not think of this. After hearing Xiao Chen's reminder, she immediately frowned. According to Qing Zhongfan's theory yesterday, it was really possible. Bullsh *T. Qing Zhongfan rolled his eyes and jumped out, shouting, yesterday, before Little Yao died, he had already confirmed the authenticity of this marriage contract. This is obvious to all, and Vice President Nian was also there. Xiao Chen, are you trying to lie through your teeth? Is it because you can't find a witness that you are distorting the facts to deliberately make things difficult? These are two different things. Although Little Yao is dead, he has already confirmed it yesterday, and Vice President Nian has also witnessed this. However, your father, Xiao Feng, has not confirmed it. How can this be the same? A murderous look flashed across Xiao Chen's eyes. This Qing Zhongfan was really a meticulous person. He could even make an issue out of the loophole in this. This was indeed what Xiao Chen was planning. If he could get rid of Little Yao and Yao Baoang yesterday, then the marriage contract would naturally be invalid. After all, Yao Baoang was already dead, so why would there be a marriage contract? However, Yao Baoang was not dead, and he had a backup plan, which was the death of Little Yao, the witness today. However, he did not expect Qing Zhongfan to be so good at quibbling. However, Vice President Nian could not lie through her teeth. He was sure of this, so he was not afraid that Xiao Chen would make an issue of Little Yao's death. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Chen clenched his fists. Actually, he had another move that he had considered for a long time. That was to transform into his father, Xiao Feng, and then appear here to confirm that the marriage contract between the Qing family and the Xiao family was valid. However, he suppressed this idea in the end because it was too dangerous. If he did that, not only would he not achieve his goal, but he would also be targeted by the Quishan sect. Moreover, he would also be hindered, causing Qing Tianxiu to truly lean towards the Quishan sect. After all, if Xiao Feng appeared, then where was Qing Zhongqian? If Qing Tianxiu asked him, how would he answer? Since he could come back, why couldn't Qing Zhongqian? Chapter 704. If he could not reveal Qing Zhongqian's whereabouts, it would be equivalent to confirming the rumor that he harmed his teammates. By then, Qing Tianxiu would be instigated by Qing Zhongfan to truly side with the Quishan sect, and there would be no turning back. Of course, this was only one of the problems. More importantly, Xiao Feng had appeared. Why didn't Xiao Chen appear? Could it be that he had something to attend to and had to leave? Was that possible? Was it believable? Even if everyone believed him at the time, they would definitely discover the problem in retrospect. Moreover, after Xiao Feng appeared, he could not possibly disappear, right? Unless Xiao Chen continued to pretend to be Xiao Feng, but that was impossible. Once Xiao Feng disappeared again, the Quishan sect would definitely be suspicious. At that time, many of Xiao Chen's secrets might be exposed. Therefore, unless there was no other choice, or if Xiao Chen had gone mad, he would not resort to this. Fortunately, Yao Boang's Shinshui acupoint was already affected. If Qing Menjing really followed Yi Xiaoya's suggestion and chose the mantra that only a virgin could cultivate, Yao Baoang could only endure it. When he reached his limit, he would find a random woman to vent it on, and then he would reach the end of his life. I was just joking. Why are you so agitated? Idiot. Xiao Chen glanced at Qing Zhongfan. Humph. Qing Zhongfan said coldly, Xiao Chen, don't think we're afraid of you. Vice President Nian is here. You're not welcome here. We're going back to the Quishan sect with Junior Brother's coffin. I'm here to send Menjing off. Do you think I'm sending you off? How shameless, Xiao Chen said in disdain. Are you done? Hurry up and leave. Qing Zhongfan said angrily. Oh, Menjing, take care. Xiao Chen glanced at Qing Menjing. They had already agreed on it yesterday. He believed that once the young mistress went to the Quishan sect, she would adapt to the situation. Xiao Chen, goodbye. Qing Menjing smiled, trying to make herself happy. Knowing that things could not be changed, Xiao Chen had to turn around and prepare to leave. In fact, he did not want to stay any longer. If Yao Baoang remembered something and blamed him for little Yao's death, it would be troublesome. Goodbye, eldest miss, but I will bring you back in less than 3 years. As he drove, Xiao Chen felt a little melancholic. There were some things that he couldn't change, but he had tried his best. After returning to the Xiao family, Xiao Chen was a little silent. Xiao Yuanshan walked over and lightly patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. Xiao Chen, Grandpa is already very happy with your current achievements. There are some things that you can't do for the time being, so don't think too much about it. Xiao Yuanshan's gaze was a little deep. Originally, he did not have any hope of finding Xiao Feng, but now that Xiao Chen had grown up, maybe Xiao Feng was really fine. Grandpa, I'm fine. Actually, thinking about it, Menjing had already broken off the engagement with me, and I wasn't so disappointed. It's just that now I have the strength, but I can't change it, so I feel a little unbalanced. Xiao Chen had already thought it through. Since Menjing was not in danger, and on the contrary, she could become a devil cultivator, this should be a good thing. There was no need for him to frown. Wasn't life spent in separation and reunion? Even if Menjing stayed in Songming, wouldn't he still have to go to Lan City? To do a mission? Even if he couldn't see her all the time, what was the difference between now and now? After thinking through this point, Xiao Chen also felt relieved. Brother, we are having a class reunion tomorrow night, will you accompany me? Xiao walked in and said after seeing Xiao Chen, not caring if Qing Menjing had already left. Tomorrow? Why would I go to your class reunion? Xiao Chen didn't really want to go. He didn't know them, and even if he knew them, he didn't want to play with Xiao Zhao's classmates. They were all little brats, what was there to play with? We agreed to bring family members. Xiao said, others bring family members, if I don't, how embarrassing would it be? What, bringing family members means to bring boyfriend and girlfriend, who brings brother? Xiao Chen was a little speechless. He didn't know if Xiao really didn't understand, or if she was just pretending. Who said that brother is not considered family? Grandpa, do you think he is my family member? Xiao pointed at Xiao Chen and asked Xiao Yuanshan. This, of course. Xiao Yuanshan didn't know how to answer, but he couldn't say no, right? You see, Grandpa said that you are my family member, then it's decided happily. Xiao said happily, tomorrow night, don't forget. Okay. Xiao Chen had no choice but to agree. He thought that he didn't have much time left at home. According to Xiaoma, he didn't find anything wrong with Su Chuxia, but the matter shouldn't have been resolved, so he planned to go over and take a look. After all, he promised them. The Missy left, and Xiao Chen also planned to leave, but before he left, there were still some things to do. For example, he hadn't seen Lu Shuangshuang and Kerlin, nor did he see Jing Xiaokuan. In fact, Xiao Chen felt that his relationship with Jing Xiaokuan was a little strange. After Jing Xiaokuan knew his identity, his attitude was obviously a little timid, and he didn't have the previous freedom. This kind of restraint made Xiao Chen very helpless. However, it was no wonder. Jing Xiaokuan and Xiao Chen used to be friends on the same level, and Jing Xiaokuan's status was even slightly higher. However, Xiao Chen's status suddenly became an existence that he could only look up to. At this moment, Jing Xiaokuan's mentality hadn't adjusted. As for visiting the Jing family, he naturally wouldn't go. Firstly, Jing Xiaokuan wasn't his underling, and secondly, the relationship between the two had never risen to the level of a family. Thinking of Lu Shuangshuang, Xiao Chen called her. Hello? Xiao Chen? You finally remembered me? Lu Shuangshuang received a call from Xiao Chen, and she was obviously a little happy. I thought you forgot me again. How could I? Xiao Chen was a little embarrassed. The marriage between Lu Shuangshuang and himself was a mistake. Although Xiao Chen had a good impression of her, it was more of a responsibility. He couldn't always remember her. He had returned to Songning for many days. It was almost the end of the Chinese New Year, and he only thought of visiting Lu Shuangshuang now. Hee, I'm just kidding. I know you're busy. What's the matter? Are you thinking about that again? Lu Shuangshuang was still a little puzzled by Xiao Chen's sudden call. I'm not as dirty as you think. Can't I call you for something else? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. It turned out that he was such a person in Lu Shuangshuang's eyes. Hee, I'm still kidding. Lu Shuangshuang smiled and said, What's the matter? Nothing much. I just miss you. Are you free? Do you want to come out and sit? Asked Xiao Chen. Oh, you still want to ask me out? Lu Shuangshuang said after listening, You see, then you can just say it. Sweat, I just want to see you. Xiao Chen was a little speechless. In fact, he really had this thought. During this time, he was pestered by Xiao Xiao every night. He couldn't go to Tang Tang, and it really made Xiao Chen depressed. He could just look for Lu Shuangshuang, but since Lu Shuangshuang said so, he was too embarrassed to do it. Oh. I just wanted to come here today. If you don't want to, then forget it. Next time you miss me and don't want to, then I can't help it. Anyway, we agreed that you have to let me do it. Lu Shuangshuang said seriously. Where are you? Xiao Chen simply changed the topic. I'm planning to go out. My uncle asked me to help him buy a rice transplanter in the city. I'm going to take a look. Said Lu Shuangshuang. Your uncle? Buy a rice transplanter? Xiao Chen was a little stunned. Why do you want to buy that? His family is in the countryside. Isn't spring coming soon? He wants to plant crops. Manual transplanting is too troublesome, so he plans to invest in a modern equipment to help the nearby villagers transplant rice. He can also earn some money. Lu Shuangshuang explained. Oh, then I will accompany you. Xiao Chen happened to be looking for Lu Shuangshuang, so he simply accompanied her to take a look. That's great. I was still a little worried. I don't know what to do if I go alone. What if I get cheated again? Lu Shuangshuang heard that Xiao Chen accompanied her, and she was suddenly very happy. Then, will you pick me up? And, you wait at home, said Xiao Chen. Do I need to ask Kerlin to come with me? Lu Shuangshuang suddenly asked. Forget it. Although it was good to bring Sister Lin and have another beauty by his side, Xiao Chen couldn't always find them to have a threesome at night, right? Although Kerlin was Xiao Chen's little lover in the university, in fact, there was no relationship at all. Okay, hee. Lu Shuangshuang smiled again as if she had seen through Xiao Chen's intention. Xiao Chen pretended not to notice it. He hung up the phone and drove to Shanty Town. Lu Shuangshuang had already packed up and waited outside Shanty Town. When she saw Xiao Chen's Land Rover, she walked over and got in the car. Needless to say, Lu Shuangshuang dressed quite fashionably, like a beautiful woman in the city. However, people with discerning eyes could see that although Lu Shuangshuang dressed beautifully, she was wearing cheap goods. Although the bag was the same as the Louis Vuitton, the logo on it was completely different. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't mean to laugh at her. Instead, he thought that she was very simple and good. In fact, Lu Shuangshuang now earned a lot, and Lu Shuangshuang's grandmother's illness was also cured. There was no need to save money like before, but Lu Shuangshuang still didn't spend it recklessly. Moreover, because of the environment in which Xiao Chen grew up, he didn't have the temperament of a young master at all. He didn't have any thoughts about those materialistic things. Whether it was his net worth or face, they were all fleeting clouds in his eyes. You're dressed quite beautifully. Xiao Chen praised. Really? That's good. Otherwise, I would have dressed up for nothing. Lu Shuangshuang fastened her seatbelt and was a little proud. Do I look like those celebrities on TV? Quite similar, Xiao Chen said with a smile. Hee hee, in fact, I was born beautiful. You got a bargain. My lover is so beautiful, and I don't need your money. Lu Shuangshuang said, you're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.